Calling to order the Monday, July 21st, 2014 meeting of the 35th Council of the City of Berkeley. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Baker.
Here.
Councilmember Blanchard.
Here.
Councilmember Edgar. Councilmember Kadekel.
Here.
Councilmember Stedman. Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Here.
Mayor O'Dwyer.
Here. First order of business is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Move to approve tonight's agenda. Support.
It's been moved by Councilmember Kadekel, support by Councilmember Baker. Are there any changes, additions? Hearing none, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Blanchard.
Yes.
Kadekel.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Is Pastor Adam Groth? He is with us, so please stand for the invocation.
Let's pray. God, we thank you for this summer evening that you've given us. We thank you for the health that we have that has allowed us to come here. And we thank you again, as we always do, for the leadership of this council and the mayor and the efforts of all those around the table to make this the great city that it is. Lord, we pray for wisdom for them. We pray for discernment. We pray as emotions get high and certain agenda items are talked about, we pray that you would give calm and give respect and some good attitudes as we discuss the agenda of the city tonight. We thank you again for your love for us and your grace. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we come to the Citizens' Comments portion of tonight's meeting, when you may present your thoughts on issues that are not included on tonight's agenda. Council members will not engage you in discussion. If your concern needs to be addressed by a member of city staff or a department of the city, please sign your name on the sheet provided at the clerk's table. You may speak on a specific agenda item when that is being considered. When you come to the microphone, please state your name and city of residence.
We're going to swear in 3 new public safety officers this evening. I'll give a little bio on each one,
Okay.
then they'll be sworn in. First one, come on in, guys.
Yes.
Brian Anderson. He holds a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from Western Michigan University. He attended the Kalamazoo Law Enforcement Training Center for Police Certifications and the Berrien County Fire Academy for the fire side. In April of 2013, he joined the Benton Harbor Public Safety Department, where he has worked since. In Brian's case, he's coming home, sort of. He grew up in Royal Oak, and we'd like to point out that this work is in his blood. His parents, Harry and Diana Anderson here. Harry happens to be the police chief in Clawson. Brian's grandfather, Harry Sr., retired from the Detroit Police Department after a career at the rank of inspector, the equivalent of captain. Subsequent to that, he came here to Berkeley and was the chief. So this is in Brian's blood. Next gentleman, John Corrigan. Has an associate's degree in general studies at Macomb Community College, a bachelor's degree in human resources from Rochester. He's a licensed emergency medical technician, fire certified in 2009, and between 2009 and 12, he was a part-time paid-on-call firefighter from Macomb Township. Got his police certification in 2012, and for the past 2 years has worked in the East Grand Rapids Public Safety Department. Stephen Mueller, on the end. He has an associate's degree in fire science from Kalamazoo Valley College. In 2004, on his own, he went to a fire academy got certified on that side. 2006, he went to the Macomb Police Academy, and in 2007 joined the Harper Woods Police Department, where he's been ever since. In 2011, Harper Woods began a transition into public safety, so his fire certification came into play. For the past 3 years, he has been doing both functions. Lieutenant Crum started with hundreds of names as potential applicants and whittled it down. The exhaustive backgrounds went way back into their histories, and we have found these people to be of the top integrity, character, demeanor, and people skills. Normally, we only require one certification before being hired here, either police or fire, and we will send to the other academy. In this case, however, the top 3 candidates happen to be certified in both disciplines, as well as experienced, coming from other public safety departments. We feel very fortunate. Berkley is fortunate to have these 3 officers. Now they'll be sworn in.
Just ask you to state your name. Raise your right hand, please. I state your name.
Brian.
Having been duly appointed
I've been duly appointed
as a public safety officer
as a public safety officer
for the city of Berkeley,
for the city of Berkeley.
do hereby solemnly swear
Do hereby solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Michigan,
the Constitution of the state of Michigan,
the Charter of the City of Berkeley,
the charter of the city of Berkeley,
and that I will perform the duties
and that I will perform the duties
of my office
of my
to
office
the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Gentlemen, I don't know if you each would like to say something. It's up to you.
I think they just want to escape.
Well, thank you all very much. I see someone heading for the microphone.
There we go.
Stephen? Stephen?
Stephen will say something.
I just wanted to thank the city for giving me this opportunity to serve in the city here. And for those residents that I've met, I'm sure some of them are here already. Everybody's been very welcoming to me, so I really appreciate that. It helps my transition over to this city. Thank you.
Thank you. It's
Mr. Anderson.
very good.
Officer.
I'd also like to thank the citizens of Berkeley. So far, I can tell that I'm going to very much enjoy it here. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I also would like to thank all the citizens, council members for the opportunity to work for the city. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to meeting all you guys. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You are joining a wonderful department. The collegiality, professionalism, and performance of the members of that department are outstanding. And I know that you were selected because of the outstanding promise you all have. And we wish you well, and we're glad to have you in our city.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Congratulations. Good luck. Thank you.
Seeing no one else coming to the microphone, then we'll move on to the consent agenda. Ms. Boucher, would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
Approve of the minutes. Matter of approving the minutes of regular 35th City Council meetings on Monday, June 16, 2014. Approve of the warrant. Matter of approving warrant number 1280.
Is it a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by
Support.
Councilmember Baker with support by Councilmember Blanchard. Are there any corrections, changes, or additions? Hearing none, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll?
Kadeco.
Yes.
Stedman.
Yes.
Turbrack.
Yes.
Baker.
Yes.
Blanchard.
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now we move to the regular agenda. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 1 on tonight's regular agenda?
Recognitions, presentations, matter of any recognitions or presentations from the consent agenda.
Seeing no recognitions or presentations, then, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 2?
Motion number M4414, matter of authorizing the Berkley Lions Club to hold a fundraiser on August 7th, 8th, and 9th in the intersection of 12 Mile and Coolidge from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Is there a motion to approve M4414?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Stedman.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Mr. Councilman.
thank you. Seeing that I'm the vice president of the Berkeley Lions Club, I'm asking my colleagues to allow me to abstain from this vote.
Without objection, then you may abstain.
Thank you.
Mr. Sessa.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council, and to members of the public. Thank you for joining us this evening. Under this item, I really don't have too much to add except to state that the purpose for this request is to assist the Lions Club in terms of their fundraising activities. Basically, these dollars will go to help raise funds for eye screening. They're also looking to perhaps identify some funds for leader dogs for the blind and also for the Beaumont Silent Children's Fund and other community events in the city of Berkeley. Now, we do have the president with us this evening. Her name is Emily Weeks. The Director of Public Safety has reviewed this request. They do understand that they must comply with our city rules and regulations. They will be wearing reflective vests with the logos, with the Lions logo visible, so they are aware of that. So, Ms. Weeks, I don't know if you have anything else you'd like to add?
We appreciate everybody's support on this. We recently were chartered. I think the city of Berkeley did have a Lions Club previous many years back. So we're kind of getting everything started with this. And definitely we're planning a big screening in the fall and different events that are coming up. So it really helps us to have the city's support, and we appreciate it.
Emily, when you say a big screening, would you, for the sake of our residents,
Sure,
explain
sure.
what that means?
We're going to have a eye screening, and actually the Lions Club, they actually have different instruments that we can use to actually screen children's vision that are actually under the age of 5. So it's looking at like different pupil disorders, catching lazy eyes before the child even gets to school. And there are many eye screenings that the Lions Club, they've organized this before. So I am actually within the Shane Baum ophthalmology practice. So we're going to actually have a big screening, a community screening there. So,
Very good.
Mr. Mayor, the staff in the Public Safety Office recommends this for council's consideration.
Very good. Any questions, discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M4414?
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. Now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 3 on tonight's agenda?
Resolution number R2614, matter of considering a proposed statement of purpose for the petition amending Chapter 6 of the Charter of the City of Berkeley.
Is there a motion to approve R2614?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Cadeckel with support from Councilmember Stedman. Mr. Sessa.
Council, as you're aware, based on the resolution that you have before you, there was a petition filed with the City of Berkeley, and they did achieve the requirement of 5% of those that are qualified and registered electors of our city in order to allow them to propose such an amendment to our city charter. And I'll turn this over to the city attorney so that he can give a little bit more detail on this matter as to the purpose and things of that nature. But one last thing here. We did receive a letter today from the governor's office indicating that they did receive the information that we are to send them in accordance with law, and upon any review or any other comments, they will contact us further. But for now, it seems that they have the information that they need. I'll turn it over to our city attorney, Mr. Christ.
Thank you. Very briefly, as Ms. DeSessa indicated, initiative petition was filed. That is a authorized provision of the Home Rule Cities Act. The petitions, the adequacy of the petitions have been reviewed, and the petition has already been forwarded to the governor. There is a process, and what is before you this evening is a proposed resolution which outlines a statement of purpose in a true and impartial manner, attempted to be a true and impartial manner, outlining what the petition is about. Should council approve the resolution, that is required to be forwarded to the Attorney General for review to make sure that it also complies with the language and requirements of the Home Rule Cities Act. Council really has very little discretion with respect to the statement of purpose. As it relates to the petition, it has no discretion. The adequacy of the petition, the requirements as it relates to the adequacy have been met. It will be on the November ballot. As it relates to the statement of purpose, certainly my office believes that it is a true and impartial statement and recommends that council approve it. The approval of the resolution this evening, though, it should not be taken and is not a endorsement for the content of the initiative petition.
And isn't it correct that a similar ordinance is being proposed in a number of local communities?
Well, it's actually not an ordinance. As proposed is a amendment to Berkeley's charter, which is actually a higher body of law than the ordinances. But as it relates to whether there are other charter amendments being proposed in other communities, the answer is yes. There's several other communities where initiative petitions have been circulated and presented to those bodies, and I really don't know the status of those, but it's my understanding that those also will be on the November election.
Very good. Thank you. Are there any questions for our attorney or any other discussion on the matter? Seeing none, then Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on R2614?
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Hideko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 4?
Motion number M4514, matter of approving the application by Blarney Stone Pub, 27253 Woodward Avenue, for temporary authorization of outdoor alcohol sales, subject to the approval of the Liquor Control Commission on Friday, August 15, 2014, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Saturday, August 16, 2014, from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the applied for extended area.
Is there a motion to approve M4514?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Baker.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Cadecle. Mr. Sessa.
Council, as you know, this license is, it's a Dream Cruise time, and so this is something that's come before you several times. I don't have anything else to add. I don't know if we have any members here from the audience that would like to address this from Blarney Stone. We have reviewed their application, and we are recommending it for your consideration.
Any questions, discussion on this application? Seeing none, then Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M4514?
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Hideko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 5 on tonight's agenda?
Motion number M4614, the matter of approving the application by Crispelli's, 28939 Woodward Avenue, for temporary authorization of outdoor alcohol sales, subject to the approval of the Liquor Control Commission on Friday, August 15th, 2014, from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m., and Saturday, August 16th, 2014, from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. in the applied for extended area.
Is there a motion to approve M4614?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Councilmember Cadecle with support by Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Sessa.
Council, with regards to Crispelli's, I think this is the first time they've come before you. Again, our Public Safety Department has reviewed this request, and they are recommending it for your consideration. I don't know if we have any representative from Crispelli that'd like to speak. If not, Your Honor, we are recommending it for your consideration. Happy to answer any questions.
Very good. Are there any questions, discussion on this item? Seeing none, Ms. Boucher, please call the roll on M4614.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Hideko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 6?
Motion number M4714, matter of approving the application by Armaras, 2555 12 Mile Road, for temporary authorization of outdoor alcohol sales, subject to the approval of the Liquor Control Commission on Friday, August 15, 2014, from 3 p.m. to 2 a.m. in the applied for extended area.
Is there a motion to approve M4714?
Motion to approve M4714.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard with support by Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack. Mr. Sessa.
Council, again, I do not have much more to add than what the city clerk just stated. Omeros has been doing this for numerous years. They've done an excellent job. Public Safety has reviewed this request, and again, we are recommending it for your consideration.
Any discussion or questions on this item? Seeing none, then Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M4714?
Kadeko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, we come to the last of this line of items related to Cruise Fest. Item number 7.
Motion number M4814, matter of approving the application by Forgotten Harvest, Westbourne Market, 27659 Woodward Avenue, for temporary authorization of outdoor alcohol sales, subject to the approval of the Liquor Control Commission on Friday, August 15th, 2014, from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. in the applied for extended area.
Is there a motion to approve M4814?
Motion to approve.
Motion
Support.
to approve by Councilmember Baker with support by Councilmember Kadeko. Mr. Sessa?
Council, again, under this item, this has come before you several times. Westbourne Market does a tremendous job, very, very well organized. Obviously, they do this for fundraising purposes to help food banks throughout our region. We've worked with them, in the past, and we are recommending them for your consideration.
Are there any questions on this item? Seeing none, then Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M4814?
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeko,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 8?
Ordinance number 0314, matter of considering the first reading of an ordinance to rezone property described as lots 306, 307, and 308 of the Larkmore Boulevard subdivision from single-family residential district R-1D to parking district P-1, set date certain August 18, 2014.
Thank you. Before we get started on this important topic, I'd like to welcome all of you this evening to this discussion. Clearly, this enormous attendance reflects the importance of the issue before us. We welcome, too, the members of the media who are here covering this matter. Now, the matter before us comes in 2 separate items. That is because the original request was to rezone 3 properties on Oxford, and later an application was submitted for a 4th. So let me suggest that both items be joined together for purposes of deliberation, public comment, and maybe even the zoning vote itself. And so it'll be up to the council to approve the entire rezoning, to deny the entire rezoning, to approve part of it, or to reject part of it. Should the council approve the rezoning, it will be brought back to a subsequent council meeting for a second reading. That is required by city charter. Should the council deny this rezoning, then that will be their final decision on this matter. And finally, a protest petition was filed under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. Essentially, that means 20% of the landowners within 100 feet of this property that is to be rezoned have expressed their opinion through a petition. In such a case, approval of the rezoning will require 5 votes of council. A motion to deny will require the usual simple majority. So, with these general caveats of the direction that we have to go this evening, I turn over to our city manager, Jane Vice DeSessa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know that we want to make sure that everyone is well informed as to what the purpose of these 2 items are. And to help me do this, I've asked our city planner, Miss Amy Vanson to step up and please provide us with a brief summary of what the Planning Commission has recommended and all the past steps that were taken as we review these two items. Ms. Vanson?
Thank you. Good evening. As you know, the Planning Commission held a public hearing on May 27th, and they held another public hearing on June 24th because, as the mayor just indicated, we had two items on the agenda. We had 3 lots, and then we had a 4th one. Berkeley City Code requires the Planning Commission to examine 5 issues in particular when making a recommendation on a map amendment or a rezoning. They are required to look at the zoning of the general area, the land uses of the general area, the suitability of the property with its existing zoning, in this case single-family residential, the trend of development in the area, as well as the master plan objectives. The Planning Commission found that the property was still suitable for single-family homes. They expressed an opinion that there was enough land already developed or rezoned as parking, and that additional land zone parking would not promote the long-term sustainability of the neighborhood. There were 7 members of the Planning Commission present at that meeting, and all of them voted that council should recommend it. I never get nervous up here, and it's just amazing what all these cameras will do. So I apologize. There were 7 members of the Planning Commission present. I wanted to make it known that it was not unanimous because we did have 2 absent at the June meeting, and they have recommended that City Council deny all 4 rezonings of all 4 Oxford parcels. Did you have any questions?
Any questions for Ms. Benson? Well, you could have fooled us that you were nervous.
Oh, yeah.
You're very kind.
Okay. Now it would be appropriate for the applicant to make whatever comments the applicant would want to make.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. Unlike the other restaurants on your agenda tonight, we're not here asking for any sort of temporary authorization. We're committed to be in Berkeley for the long haul, and so what we've been discussing with the Planning Commission, and what is before you tonight, is to us a long-term solution. And that's really what we're interested in because we've made a substantial commitment to the community, and we understand the passion of the residents as well. So we're in a unique position because really what I'm here tonight is, in my belief, I'm here on behalf of the residents of Oxford because I heard the issues that the residents of Oxford had with traffic on their street. I understood that they had issues with the increased traffic and the parking up and down Oxford. And so we feel that the only solution to the traffic problem is to provide parking. And we've explored every avenue, so to speak. As you know, we've explored Eaton and we've explored Oxford. And to us, the Oxford solution to create a small parking district conjoined to Vincetta Garage, conjoined to our property, directly adjacent to our property, directly behind Amber Apartments, and accessible only by the alley behind Vincetta Garage, to us is the best way to address the primary concern that we heard from the residents of Oxford, which is that they would like these cars off their street. And I can understand that. If you walk down the hall and look in the file on Vincetta Garage, you'll find it full of complaints and comments from these citizens who are asking for this kind of solution. And so we've made a sizable investment to provide what we think is the best solution. And we didn't come up with it on our own. We kind of looked to your master plan for guidance, a master plan from 2007 that stated that this is an area of Berkeley that will likely need more parking if it's to be a vibrant commercial thoroughfare along an even more vibrant Woodward Avenue. And so when you look at the footprint that we've developed, which is, I think, practical, it provides us with an opportunity to provide parking to our guests that is accessible only by the alley. So when you pull down our alley, which is now a one-way alley, and you can't turn left as you leave the alley, which are changes that were made since we opened, it's an opportunity for us to kind of corral the flow of our guests that are pulling off Woodward Avenue and put them in this harbor which is a safe harbor not just for our guests, but for the people who live up and down Oxford and Eaton, because it allows us to get the traffic off of these streets. That is the goal. That's why we've made a substantial investment, because we've heard these complaints. And I've heard them in these past 2 Planning Commission meetings loud and clear. And we think it's the only viable solution for a long-term plan, because we respect the voices of the community. We want to be part of it. We want people to be able to walk to Vincetta Garage and drive miles and miles to Vincetta Garage. So we're in a unique position where we want to make sure that the residents are happy and our guests are happy. And we think that this parking lot, which would be well manicured, which would be walled, which would be landscaped, which would be adequately lit, allows us to service the community by keeping our business off of Oxford and off of Eaton. To that point, we've purchased 4 homes along Oxford with that intention. 3 of those homeowners came to us with the idea, and we approached the 4th. And we understand that it's difficult to see that change in complexion of Oxford. And we understand that there are some questions that I would have if I were a homeowner on Oxford, and I own with my partners 4 of them now, about property values. And it's a very valid concern. It's something we've heard over and over. And I wasn't able to answer what kind of impact it would have to have a parking lot adjacent to a home. So we commissioned an appraiser to go out and do an appraisal study to look at what it means when your home is directly adjacent to a commercial structure or a parking lot. And you can imagine that it was very easy to go up and down Woodward and find a lot of comparable homes. And so we compiled that study.
Thank you.
And what the appraisers found is that there is no difference in value of a home that's directly adjacent to a commercial property or a parking lot, or if it's 5 or 6 streets or homes off of a commercial property. There's no discernible difference in value between a house that is directly adjacent to a commercial structure or a commercial parking lot as there would be a few houses in. And I can understand that. Of the 4 houses that we purchased, you could argue that the Morels took beautiful care of their home, which was on an alley behind a restaurant, and you could look 4 houses in, and there was one that was in particular disarray. There was the bearing of a commercial property had nothing to do with the value of those homes. It just had to do with the way those particular homes were kept. So we absolutely understand the passion that the homeowners have, and we respect their opinion. But we also have to respect Vincetta Garage as a landmark, as a business on Woodward Avenue in your community. And we have an obligation to Vincetta Garage also. We have an obligation to our 165 employees. Over 10% of those employees live in Berkley. We have an obligation to continue to give them the means to make a living. Since Vincetta Garage has opened, we have paid over $5.9 million of income to people who work at Vincetta Garage. That's not taking into account money that our suppliers make, or the garbage truck driver, or the people delivering our drinks, or the contractors who built it. That's just the people who call Vincetta home on a daily basis to pay for mortgages in Berkley, elsewhere, to pay for their cars, to pay for anything that they have to do to get by. And that obligation weighs on me also. So for me, it's a little different, and we've been very careful to let this campaign play out in this forum. We haven't asked any of our 50,000 Facebook fans to get involved in this campaign. We've been very careful to not provide any interviews with the media, because we believe that we're following the Berkley Master Plan. And this dialogue that's happening today is very valid. We just feel that it should have happened in 2007 when the master plan was adopted. And I can't speak to the specifics of our master plan that we followed, but our council can. But at the end of the day, what we want is to be in your community and to be a positive impact on your community. And as it stands, the only negative impact that I can see is as it relates to parking. The only negative impact that Vincetta Garage has had on the community, with all of the exceptional national attention, is as it relates to parking. If you ask the public safety officers, I think that the only calls that have ever come in regards to Vincetta Garage are in regards to parking. You know, this is a restaurant. I mean, this is not a bar. This is a place that does 67% of its sales on food. And it does 67% of its sales one $9 hamburger at a time. So you can imagine that this restaurant, it brings something to the community that needs to be positive throughout. And we're committed to make sure that Vincetta Garage is a positive member of your community, from the parking, from the service, in every aspect, so that you can all drive past it, so that people on Oxford can look out their doors and see Oxford and not feel that this garage, this landmark, is negatively impacting the place that they call home and that our business calls home. I'm now going to turn it over to the residents, and you'll see the passion that they have for this process and the parking issue.
Well, now, in terms of the drawing and the graphic, did you want to make some use of that?
Mayor, I think that the reason we provided that and we've been looking at is it establishes the footprint of this proposed parking. What I think is useful is that it shows that this is a formula that's been applied up and down Woodward Avenue. It's one of the reasons that Woodward and the communities adjacent to Woodward are so vibrant. Our particular solution is conjoined to our existing property. What I like about it is that it provides a low-impact solution, in my opinion, because it's adjacent to Amber Apartments, so you have an apartment parking lot on one side, and that there's a natural tree line past Mr. Witzke's house, which is the fourth house, that serves as a barrier beyond the wall that we would erect to provide sound deadening and to stop any headlights from going past the parking lot.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else care to comment?
Honorable Mayor Phil O'Dwyer and distinguished members of our Berkeley City Council, good evening. My name is Diane Cicchini. I have lived in Berkeley for 25 years. Both of my boys grew up through Berkeley schools in the company of Berkeley teachers, coaches, friends, and neighbors. Through letters and previous testimony before our Berkeley Planning Commission, others and I have stated our heartfelt views and provided factual renderings about the matters before us tonight. Nothing about our objection to a parking lot on Oxford is in any way related to our desire for this business to fail. My remarks tonight will be brief regarding agenda items 8 and 9. As I have stated before, I continue to be disheartened and deeply concerned about car bar owner Kurt Catallo's uncompromising commitment to his singular slash and scar agenda, dismissing both his residential and business neighbors' concerns and his repeated disregard of obligations and commitments made to the city of Berkeley. Though charged by our Planning Commission to work with both his business neighbors and his residential neighbors to reach an accord, Mr. Catallo failed to do so. Gestures initiated by his neighbors on Oxford and by Mr. Catallo's business neighbors, Mr. Denha and Mr. Amir of T-Mobile, came to naught. Hands extended across the table, both literally and figuratively, and seemingly welcomed by Mr. Catallo, were quickly and summarily rejected. No counter proposal from Mr. Catallo to achieve compromise and resolution were ever put forward. Our former neighbors at 960, 972, and 984 Oxford were not initially tempted by the lure of a price tag, nor did they approach Vincetta Garage about selling their homes, but finally did vacate their homes, and relinquish their status as Berkley residents, succumbing, finally, to repeated harassment, bullying, and threatening language from Carbar. Sworn to non-disclosure, they left. They simply left. No goodbyes, by order of Vincetta Garage. Acquiescence to the single-minded and uncompromising master plan, the self-described Oxford solution of Carbar, will assure the transformation of our charming, family-oriented residential neighborhood into an extension of the Woodward Corridor, into our front yards, next door to our homes, inserting a brightly lit, walled-off concrete slab into our neighborhood to resolve a non-existent, indeed manufactured parking issue will be counter to Berkeley's master plan and will forever alter the value of our homes. The residents of Oxford have already sacrificed to commercial enterprise in Berkeley. Though Westbourne Market is and has been a good neighbor, traffic on our street increased and cost our neighborhood 2 homes and 2 families of neighbors. Please vote no to ordinances 0314 and 0414. Please deny these requests to rezone our neighborhood. Please vote no to protect the charm and appeal and value of our neighborhood. We chose Berkeley and Oxford Street in particular to make the largest financial investments of our lives. We chose Berkeley as the community in which to raise our children. We proudly welcome family and friends into our neighborhood. We chose Berkeley to live in a community of good neighbors, neighbors who value not only their own property, but value and respect the property of their neighbors as well. Please vote no to ordinances 0-3-14 and 0-4-14. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Pat Chamberlain, and I have been a resident of Berkeley since 1977. And I have the privilege tonight to read a letter from our neighbors who could not be at this meeting tonight. Good evening, Mayor O'Dwyer and fellow City Council members. I am Jacqueline Bergeron, and I reside at 10022 Oxford with my husband, Dr. Edward Bergeron, and my daughter, Vivian. I am aware that all the council members have read my previous opposition letters and have heard my public comments against rezoning at the May 27th and June 24th meetings. I know that you are aware that for 2 months in a row, the Carbar was instructed by the Planning Commission to work with the neighborhood, both business and residential, and that yet another month has passed without any outreach from the Carbar. Because of this, I will be brief with my other comments. Please deny 03-14 and 04-14. We demand that the Carbar follow through with their shared parking agreements and complete the Eaton Street parking lot. The Carbar must stop manufacturing a parking problem and follow through with the solutions already set in place. I have one last thing that I would like to address. At the June 24th, 2014 Planning Commission meeting, Mr. Cataldo stated that his proposed lot solved the parking problem in a way that does not impinge on the community. He believes that because of the Amber Apartments to the north and the line of trees separating my home at 1022 from 996 Oxford, a natural break between the proposed parking lot and neighborhood already exists. First, the suggestion that a tree line exists is false. The trees that are present, one of them dead, provide absolutely no break or privacy. If Mr. Cataldo is considering my privacy fence and arborvitae bushes installed and maintained at my expense as a buffer to be included in his request for parking district approval, this is yet another example of his use of the neighborhood for his own benefit, without giving anything back or having any regard for the impact and the consequences of his actions. Second, the inclusion of the Amber Apartments in the Oxford rezoning conversation is misleading. Located on Eaton, the Amber Apartments do not provide any buffering for Oxford. Finally, the true buffer for the Oxford block already exists. It is the two-story homes at 996, 984, and 972 Oxford, and most importantly, the three-story home with its beautiful landscaping at 960 Oxford, the first home on the block. It is the most direct buffer against current light, sound, and dust pollution from Woodward. The car bar's proposed rezoning, demolition of homes, and construction of a parking lot that extends 4.5 lots deep into Oxford not only opens the neighborhood directly to Woodward, but also compounds the light, sound, and dust pollution that 960 Oxford and the rest of the homes currently buffer. Please maintain the single-family residential zoning at 960, 972, 984, and 990 Oxford. Vote nay on O3-14 and O4-14. Thank you, Dr. and Mrs. Edward Bergeron.
Good evening, Mayor Dwyer and Honorable City Council members. My name is Robert Robinette, and I live at 1021 Oxford. I know you've all read my previous letters to the Planning Commission and have listened to my statements in the public hearing, which I begged the Planning Commission to give Mr. Cataldo and the car bar the direction they repeatedly requested, and so tonight I'll be brief. I oppose both rezoning ordinances. The rezoning and raising of single-family residents at 960, 972, 984, and 996 Oxford will remove existing buffers against noise, light, and dust and will open Oxford Road to Woodward Boulevard. Any suggestion that adding a 50-space parking lot with a brick wall and landscaping will provide the same buffer that currently exists is absurd. Such a lot will only increase the amount of light, noise, and dust pollution. Further, the homes currently located at these 4.5 city lots are set back from the sidewalk 30 feet. The addition of a parking lot, not to follow the porch line of the existing homes, but to bring the source of increased light, noise, and dust pollution to the sidewalk closer to the homes across the street on the south side of Woodward. The addition of a walled parking lot at that sidewalk level will also add a limited sight distance obstacle for the residents on the north side of Oxford as they attempt to back out of their own driveways. The approval of these rezoning requests compounds past decisions and creates new problems. Please vote nay on O3-14 and O4-14. In addition, Mr. Cataldo may speak for the 14 Berkley residents that are currently in his employed, but as a resident of Berkley and someone who lives on Oxford of the First Street, he does not speak to me. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Dwyer, council members, city officials. This might be dangerous. I'm going to go off script to rebut some of the things I heard Mr. Cataldo say. Sorry. They're more nervous about it than I am. Mr. Cataldo said he listened to the residents. Apparently he didn't listen well. He said he read over our complaints. Apparently he didn't understand what we're complaining about. He has a penchant for using anecdotes. Well, here's mine. It is as if I have a bunion on my foot and I go to my doctor and complain about the bunion, and his solution is to cut my leg off. Right now, the parking on Oxford is a nuisance, but it's a nuisance we can live with. It only happens in the evening, okay? If there is a parking lot built across the street from our houses, that parking lot is ever present. It's present when it's full, it's present when it's empty. Moreover, he says it's not a large lot. It's going to be one of the largest lots on Woodward Avenue. Also, he brought forward a report on from an appraiser, which we haven't had a benefit to look at, but I hired an appraiser when this started, and I was informed that I've already lost $18,000 on the value of my house because I'm next door to Westbourne. The appraiser assured me that if a parking lot is built across the street from my house, then not only would I lose more money, but that I'd have a difficult time selling my house and would take longer to sell. As my neighbor, Mr. Robinette, pointed out, yes, he does have some Berkley employees, but they're in the minority. There's only, I think, 14 of them. And finally, residential lots pay more in taxes than a parking lot. Now I'd like to try to get back to my beautifully prepared statement, which I will rush through. I want to thank the City Fathers for going over all the materials we presented to the Planning Commission. In one of my letters, I talked about the residential deed restrictions on Larkmore subdivision, including the fact that instead of garage, car bar has a deed restriction forbidding the sale of intoxicating liquors. In this letter, I'd like to emphasize the residential single-family nature of our neighborhood. My wife and I purchased our home 28 years ago with the understanding that we were moving into a residentially zoned area. We like being next to Woodward Avenue, and we appreciate that the adjacent lots were shallow. I know that some people find that a problem, but for us, the neighbors, we like that they are shallow business lots because it doesn't interfere with a quiet residential setting. The car bar's request to rezone 4 lots on Oxford Road for parking would dig deep into our neighborhood and destroy our residential setting. It solves a parking problem for the car bar itself by creating a problem that damages our property values. I'd like to also point out that the car bar has botched this whole parking situation. It failed to purchase Margarita's restaurant for parking, which was apparently their master plan, because it tried to do an end run by acquiring the discounted mortgage rather than a direct purchase. It ruined the shared parking arrangement with Charter One Bank, then neglected to mention this violation of their business agreement with the city. It has poisoned the relationship with Charter Bank so much that I understand that firm is no longer willing to do shared parking with anyone. It then failed to come to an agreement with T-Mobile on developing a joint parking lot on Eaton. It then purchased the 3 properties on Oxford Road with an option, I guess, on the 4th one, without fully investigating the deed restrictions or making the necessary or making the purchases contingent on rezoning. It failed to come up with a comprehensive shared parking arrangement after the arrangement with Charter Bank was canceled with any of the nearby businesses, except reluctantly came up with a very limited shared parking agreement with North Point, which is limited to staff and valet parking. And has failed to come to any kind of agreement with any other nearby Woodward businesses to purchase their property and convert them into parking lots. All in all, the car bar has thrashed about to solve the parking problem it has created by trying penny-wise but pound-foolish moves and by ignoring the concerns of the city and its residents. Despite the Planning Commission's suggestion that the car bar work with the neighborhood, it failed to make any outreach and only met with us after we contacted them. Its proposed solution to the problem it has created is to overturn the single-family residential-only zoning of an established neighborhood because it has otherwise failed to take advantage of nearby abundant parking and lots already zoned for parking and business. I urge the City Council to follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission and to reject both zoning requests. The properties on Oxford Road are zoned single-family residential and should remain so zoned. The car bar must learn that it has to solve problems it has created without damaging the property values of its neighbors and that they cannot ignore the concerns of the city. They should look elsewhere than Oxford Road to solve this parking problem. Thank you very much. Sorry that's a little longer than I was hoping.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and fellow City Council members. My name is Melanie Stevens, and I live at 1083 Oxford Road. The City of Berkley Planning Commission has already heard my statements and concerns addressed to them on May 27th and June 26th meetings. For 2 months in those meetings, the Planning Commission had instructed the car bar and its representatives to work collaboratively with the adjoining businesses as well as the Oxford and Eaton Road residents. A third month has now passed, and as an immediate resident to the proposed parking lot, I have yet to receive any contact from Mr. Catello or his representatives. I am asking you today to vote nay on both 0314 and 0414. We, the residents, the local businesses, and more importantly, the members of the City of Berkeley Planning Commission have offered numerous alternative solutions for parking, all of which were reasonable and attainable, all of which were rejected by the car bar and their representatives. According to the City of Berkeley's master plan, the population of Berkeley has steadily decreased since 1960 and is projected to continue in the future. However, changes in the overall economy, housing market, local policy, or zoning, and land use regulations each could affect the future population of Berkeley. The master plan goes on to say the city's neighborhoods are its foundation. This information is important in determining what action needs to be taken in order to ensure the neighborhoods continue to be the city's greatest asset and to ensure the quality of life of residents is maintained and improved as necessary. Granting the rezoning of the 4 Oxford properties would not support this message, especially given that the city has already approved rezoning of 3 residential lots on Eaton for parking, which is still not developed. When the families who lived in the 4 Oxford homes on Oxford sold out to the car bar, we lost residents. Residents who sent their kids to Berkeley schools, voters who last year approved our millage, taxpayers, and people who support our local economy. Allowing the car bar to demolish these residential homes for a parking lot not only negatively impacts the neighborhood residents' quality of life as stated in the master plan, it also contributes to the city's concern for its declining population, the exact opposite of what's in the master plan. Existing land use conditions show 0.1% of the land in Berkeley is vacant, while 17.9% represents parking. I was unable to locate any vacant residential land for sale in Berkeley within the MLS system. Shouldn't we then preserve what residential property we already have and not add to the population decline? The members of the Planning Commission agree that adequate parking exists today, that shared parking agreements and the collaboration between Car Bar and T-Mobile would provide ample parking. During the June 26th meeting, Chair Barnett stated that granting the rezoning on Oxford would essentially landlock the adjacent businesses to the car bar, thus preventing those businesses any future opportunity for expansion. Chairperson Mark Richardson stated that we need to balance businesses and residents, and that he has concerns that allowing for the Oxford rezoning would give the car bar the second largest lot in the Woodward corridor. He added that allowing such raises a question about good urban planning. Make the car bar solve the parking issue that they created by using resources that already exist today. Additional parking is not needed, which is why the Planning Commission voted no. As a Berkeley resident, I'm asking you to please support the goals outlined in the city master plan and the recommendation of the Planning Commission to deny the rezoning. Vote no on 0314 and 0414. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council members, City Manager DeSessa. And thank you, each of you, for the time and effort that you've taken already to read and to review our previous letters and statements to the Planning Commission. I am Tara Hayes, resident of Berkeley, specifically of 1021 Oxford Road, and I am an embodiment of the new residents Berkeley's master plan urges the city to attract. And I chose to become a voting, tax-paying, property-owning citizen of Berkeley because of the Larkmore Boulevard subdivision and its people, many of whom have lived on this block for decades. My neighbors are the current citizens of Berkeley's master plan, the ones they want to encourage to stay in Berkeley. Together, we, yourselves included, exemplify what Berkeley's master plan cites as its most important focus and its most valuable asset: residents with revitalized pride in their communities. Tonight, I stand before you in person to oppose the adoption of Ordinances 314 and 414, and I ask each of you to do the same. As a city, we base our rezoning decisions on what is best for Berkeley as a whole, not on the wants of a single person, or in this case, the wants of a single business. Adopting either Ordinance 314 or 414 undermines core principles that Berkeley's neighborhood are its foundation and single-family residences the way to maintain the traditional neighborhoods. Adopting either Ordinance 314 or 414 establishes additional parking where the master plan's guideline recommends the reduction of land use dedicated to parking district and where no additional parking is needed. Our Woodward District corridor is a parking-rich environment, as both our parking use study and the multimodal transportation plan adopted as amendment to the master plan in October 2010 reveal. The vast majority of these lots rarely fill to 60 to 70% during peak hours, and they stand empty and available before and after traditional business hours. This means that between Catalpa and Eaton, over 250 parking spaces remain empty over 15 hours of the day. If the best parking lot is one that is used 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the Woodward corridor is conspicuously without such a lot. We do not need more subpar lots to add to the currently underutilized lots in the Woodward District, and we certainly do not need the demolition of 4 single-family homes at 960, 972, 984, and 996 Oxford, and their replacement with yet more swaths of empty asphalt. We do need to utilize the parking lots in the Woodward District corridor. We do need to implement shared parking concepts outlined in the master plan and to mandate linked access to existing parking lots throughout the Woodward District. Most importantly, we do need to take the real opportunity before us, the opportunity to lead. And I am asking you, my elected officials, to do just that. Support long-term, forward-thinking solutions that protect all of Berkeley, businesses and residents alike. Safeguard the values and principles that work for the betterment of Berkeley, both now and in the future. Maintain single-family residential zoning and disallow the transformation of our neighborhoods into series of vacant homes, unused and empty parking lots. Follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission and deny the adoption of Ordinances 314 and 414. In closing, I reiterate Planning Commissioner Martin Smith's assertion that there are many solutions to the current situation which do not include rezoning Oxford. I support Planning Commissioner Murad's suggestion that a municipal lot on Eaton not only could benefit the Woodward District in the future, but also remedies the consequences of adopting Ordinances 412, 612, 413, and Motion 6312. I underscore the significance and gravity of rezoning decisions. As Eaton demonstrates, once land has been rezoned, there is little to no way to hold property owners to what has been promised. Again, I ask each of you to follow the recommendation of the Planning Commission, to maintain the single-family residences on Oxford, and to reject Ordinances 314 and 314. Thank you.
Honorable Mayor O'Dwyer, fellow honorable members of the council. My name is Jack Gary. I moved into Berkeley in 1963. I live at 1009 Oxford. We've been here 51 years, and I have a whole line of things I wanted to tell you, but they've already told you, so it would be redundant. The only thing is I want to say is I stand in opposition to rezoning request 0314 and 0414 And thank you very much for the time.
Thank you.
Good day, Honorable Mayor Phil O'Dwyer and fellow City Council members. It might take a little bit longer than Jack. My name is Marie Baranda, and I reside at 983 Oxford. And I'm here tonight to voice my opposition to ordinance number 314 and 414, asking that you vote no to the rezoning of 960, 972, 984, and 996 Oxford from single-family residential district to parking district. As previously addressed in the prior months, as a homeowner and investor in the Oxford community of Berkley, again, my main concerns remain to be the sense of community, maintain property values, privacy, and safety. When looking for a home 2 years ago, I specifically decided against houses across from parking lots, particularly due to light and noise pollution, loitering patrons, and safety concerns that come with an unsupervised lot readily available to the public. Mr. Catallo provided you with an appraisal saying that property values will not decrease with a parking lot. I find that I don't see how I could believe anything on that. When I was looking specifically, that's not a practical appraisal. I spoke to my realtor myself, and she has told me that I should expect at least a 20 to 30% decrease with the demolition of 3 houses across from me being replaced with a parking lot. If a 4th home is added, not only will it be completely intrusive on a community that prides itself on being part of the quaint Berkeley lifestyle, I would expect my property value to take an even greater dive, being placed across a parking lot that would appear, in my opinion, to be one of the biggest in the city. Moreover, because of the buying spree of Mr. Catallo and Carbar, I now live across from 4 vacant homes and next to another vacant home which has since been put up for sale. Not only am I even more concerned for safety purposes, but I look to history, which is usually indicative of the future. Mr. Catallo and Carbar own 2 properties on Eaton Street, one which remains vacant over a year later, and one on which the house was demolished, but remains left to be a dangerous unfinished lot and an eyesore. Despite repeated promises over the past couple months that such lot would be taken care of, I find it interesting that construction equipment only seems to appear a couple days before a hearing or a meeting here at City Hall. I must also emphasize the actions of Mr. Catallo on behalf of Insata Garage and Carbar, of which reveal a history of manipulation, disrespect, and the lack of intent to work with the community. Mr. Catallo stated that he has only a positive impact on the community, and the only calls to public safety are about parking. That's partially true. Shortly after the purchase of the Oxford homes, the Carbar valet drivers began parking on the lawns of the properties, which was discontinued only due to the calls to public safety. The shared parking agreement with Charter One Bank, the shared parking agreement on which the approval of Inside a Garage was based upon, and the shared parking agreement that customers were never even told to begin with, still remains a highly suspect mystery. At the May hearing, Mr. Catallo specifically answered that a shared parking agreement with Charter One Bank was terminated only approximately 1 month prior. It was later revealed, however, that such shared parking agreement was more likely terminated in the fall of 2013, over 6 months prior. In May, Mr. Catallo stated that his valet drivers never park cars on the street. As was attached to my June letter, a picture shows a valet driver that parked right across my home in front of 972 Oxford in mid-June. I've also been told that Mr. Catallo has denied the use of the vacant homes on Oxford, particularly the driveways. I still continue to see cars parked in the driveway. In fact, I saw one parked there last night. At prior hearings and tonight, Mr. Catallo has consistently indicated that he's worked with the community and intends to continue working with the community and finding the best possible solution. I live directly across from the homes at issue and have never been contacted by Mr. Catallo or anyone else affiliated with Carbar or Vincetta Garage. In fact, as far as I can see, Mr. Catallo and Carbar have been highly resistant to talks with the city and other city business owners. Because of this, I find Mr. Catallo's statement that he represents me and my neighbors to be highly offensive. Let's be honest, we're not talking about a new restaurant owner or one that is learning the business or making rookie mistakes. We are talking about Mr. Catallo and Car Bar with multiple restaurants in different cities run by someone knowledgeable in the restaurant and business industry. Everything that has occurred in the past year, and specifically over the past 3 to 4 months, have all been calculated decisions. Have they been smart decisions? I don't think so, but decisions nonetheless by someone that should know better. Mr. Catallo and Car Bar have and will continue to make a mockery of the city as long as we allow it, with complete disregard to the citizens that have allowed Berkley to flourish and prosper as the quaint and educated city that it strives to be. As such, and in maintaining that the concerns of parking issues are largely manufactured by Mr. Catallo and Car Bar by their own actions, as well as my concerns as to the loss of property value, safety, and a sense of community in my neighborhood, I am asking you to protect the city and protect your residents by denying the request by Vincetta Garage, also known as Car Bar LLC, to rezone the properties of 960, 972, 984, and 996 Oxford from single-family residential district to parking district. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor O'Dwyer and the city councilors. Thank you for lending us your ear this evening to hear our side. My name is Patricia DeLong. I live at 959 Oxford, and I live directly across and next to Westbourne. So the parking lot would really impact us. My husband and I have lived on Oxford Road for 28 years. And as you know from reviewing the materials submitted to the Planning Commission, we have joined our neighbors in opposing the demolition of our 4 residences on Oxford Road to be converted into a parking lot for the Car Bar. In opposition to the rezoning of Oxford Road, I would like to emphasize that bars and restaurants come and go, and Mr. Catello's Car Bar is no exception. Neighborhoods are more organic and take a long time to develop. A cohesive neighborhood, like ours, can be a stable influence on the city. Nevertheless, even the most cohesive neighborhood can be damaged by developments that destroy property values and that favor temporary businesses. Mr. Catello's Car Bar has already damaged this neighborhood with its destruction on Eaton Road. Please do not let the destruction extend to Oxford Road. I ask that you reject Mr. Catello's rezoning and expansion plans. I read through the recent book that some people from our city have put out on the City of Berkley and the Historical Committee. And this is a very nice book that helps tell you about the history of our farming community going into the residential aspects. And while reading, I made note of all the bars and restaurants mentioned that no longer exist. This includes Mother Handsome's Inn, the Red Tavern, Huntington Inn, Cotter's Tavern, Bill's Northern, Coral Gables, Dillon's, Northwood Inn, the Spaghetti Company, 12 Mile Cafe, Hartfield's Bar, Domenico's, and Danaher's. All of these once thriving, even popular establishments are now gone. Any businesses running as a bar or restaurant is risky. They have a high turnover. It would be unwise to permanently damage a cohesive neighborhood on Oxford Road for an establishment that might not be around in a few years. Our neighborhood has been single-family residential since the 1910s and should remain so. Overturning our current zoning to appease a bar that may not be around in a few years would be imprudent. If this parking lot was allowed to go through, then it would be one of the largest parking lots in Berkley on Woodward Avenue. This huge proposed parking lot is for a bar, not a library, not a church, or even a grocery store. The lights can be on this lot until after 2 a.m. The drunks leaving the bar are not known for quietly going to their cars, and they will be existing into the residential neighborhood, not directly into the Woodward district. This proposed bar parking lot, no matter how well engineered it is, simply does not belong in a residential area, and especially should not be allowed to intrude so far into a neighborhood with working people with their children who need their sleep and young families raising children. I would ask that you deny both Ordinance 03-14 and Ordinance 04-14. Please insist that the car bar develop a joint parking lot on Eaton Road and take advantage of shared parking agreements with nearby businesses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, City Council members. My name is Molly Campbell, and I live at 1080 Oxford, along with my husband, Scott Campbell, who couldn't be here tonight, and our daughter, Aria. I know you have been provided all the information from previous city planning meetings in May and June, so I will try to make this very brief. I first want to start off by stating that in previous meetings, Kurt Catella and the Car Bar have been urged by the Planning Commission to reach out to the residents and work with his neighbors to come to some sort of agreement to this and solution. I stand before you now 2 months later to say that these requests have gone ignored, and I have never been approached by Catella or any other personnel from the Car Bar to try to come to an agreement. I'm here tonight to urge you to vote no on the proposal ordinance in order to maintain the Berkley charm that drew me here 5 years ago. The tree-lined street that invites my child to play will no longer be safe once it is disrupted by an intruding 50-spot parking lot that Catella wants to construct down the block from my house. I know there has been much suggestion that Catella is helping us remove the parking on our street, but another parking lot will not stop people from parking in front of my house. The existing parking lots stand empty while cars line Eaton and Oxford because, as Catella reminded us, quote, it isn't illegal to park on the street. And he is unwilling to, quote, ask people to drive by open spaces on Eaton and Oxford to park in empty lots as close to his bar as Charter 1. These supposed solutions will only have added to the already increased traffic on Oxford. I would rather contend with the traffic of the current 10 to 15 parking spots available on my street than the 65 that will be there after the 50-car parking lot is put in. The addition of speeding cars, intoxicating drivers in a residential area make it unsafe for us all. My second point is that, according to my realtor, the parking lot will decrease the value of my home. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't buy a house next to a parking lot or across the street. So even if Catella's right and it's not going to decrease value, it's sure as heck going to be really hard to sell. When this started in March, it forced my husband and I to consider leaving the place that we call home. We need to ensure that we have a safe place for our child to grow and to get what value we have put into our home back out. And a parking lot is not going to help either of these. As you drive down our street, and if you have not done so recently, I ask that you do, you can see that one of our neighbors has already made the decision and put their house on the market to get a head start. Berkley is losing valued residents. How many more are we willing to lose to Catella's plan? I want to leave you with one thought. Growing up, my mother always taught me to finish what I started. Shouldn't we be asking the same thing for Catella and the Car Bar? It is reasonable to expect that he finishes the lots he has already had rezoned as parking on Eaton before he destroys another beautiful residential block in Berkley. Furthermore, once he finishes those lots, won't there be enough parking to fix his manufactured parking problem? Why does he need 50 additional parking spots on Oxford? It seems to me the Car Bar already has the solution to the parking issues that have come up since Vincetta Garage opened 2 years ago. The only thing that is holding him from fixing it is him himself. I urge you tonight to vote no on the ordinance 314 and 414. Thank you.
Good evening, Honorable Dwyer and fellow council members. My name is Maysoon Taylor. I am a longtime resident for 41 years today, since 1973 at 1060 Oxford. I know all council members have read my previous letters and have listened to my public hearing statement on May 27 and June 24th. I know that council knows that for 2 months in a row, the car bar was instructed by the Planning Commission to work together with neighborhood, both business and residential, and that another month has passed without approaching from Catello or any of his representatives. There is definitely a parking problem that needs to be solved, but it should be corrected using plans that are already in place to have patron at the bank and developing on Eaton. There are 50 spaces at the North Point medical lot that Car Bar has been paying for since June 6th, refuses to use. I desire to maintain, in accordance with the guidelines of the master plan, the single-family residential zoning on Oxford. I voice my opposition to the rezoning ordinance, and I make my explicit request. I ask each of you please to vote nay on O314 and O414. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm a new resident on Oxford. I just moved into 1089. My name is Joel Woznicki. I moved in June, and I just wanted to say, when I look out on my street, I see dog walkers, neighbors doing the yard work, rabbits and squirrels. I don't really see a parking problem. And so I'd like you to listen to the Planning Commission when they say that this isn't in the best interest of Berkeley as a city. And that's pretty much it. That wraps up. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Marty Pren. It's P-R-E-H-N for the media. And I'm not a Berkeley resident, but I do advocate on behalf of members of the public and have spoken at the two previous Planning Commission meetings because of the fact that back in 1913, it was already decided what the permitted use would be for the lots in question. And that was from a guy Bert Eddie Taylor was the developer of that subdivision. He's also credited with planning and getting approved over 36,000 subdivisions in both Michigan, Florida, Ohio, and California. And within those lots that are in question, including the one that I believe John had mentioned, which is one that slipped me, so congratulations for finding that one. But there are deed restrictions, not one but four, that are attached to the properties. And the first one being that it is for single family residential use only. And the city attorney, Dan Christ, would understand this. The word shall is used, which is mandatory. It's not permissive. It's not, well, let's change it because we think that's in the best interest. The word is shall. And it is a property right given to these property owners, even though they weren't alive back in 1913, but it runs with the land. And those deed restrictions say it is to be for single-family use only. I believe Mr. Robinette had mentioned that there's a 30-foot setback, and that's because that was one of the deed restrictions, that the house itself had to be set back 30 feet from the front lot line. There had to be a rise in the pitch from the lot line to the house of 20 inches. So there's no way that you could have a parking lot that you would have to have drainage going down because it would be a violation of the deed restriction. And the other one at that time, which seems small now, but back then that was a high price, that it was established that the homes had to be of a value of $2,500 or more. So not only is there one deed restriction, there's actually four, and the one that Mr. DeLong mentioned, the deed restriction with the property, because at that time I believe it was a gas station built in 1919, 6 years after the subdivision was platted, that there's to be no alcoholic beverages served there. And there's a great misunderstanding of deed restrictions because city planners will say, which happened here, that it's not our job to enforce deed restrictions. And I agree with that statement completely. But they have to be recognized because it was a property right developed by the developer to give to the property owners now and in perpetuity, so that their rights would be protected and their property rights would be protected. There's an excellent article, and I would suggest each of the members read this and look it up. It's by an attorney out of Grand Rapids. His name is Cliff Bloom. He represents many townships, and the article is called "Thou Shalt Not." and it gives us specific guidelines to deed restrictions and why they were implemented and why they were put there. And if you look at the map of the master plan, the alley is what delineates the commercial property on Woodward from the residential. And that is consistent with the whole Woodward corridor. I actually had the opportunity of getting in touch with Bert Eddie Taylor's grandson, and he confirmed that the purpose of having the narrow commercial lots at that time were to funnel all of the traffic going into the downtown area. And obviously the downtown area isn't what it used to be, but it doesn't take away from the fact that these deed restrictions are property rights guaranteeing the property owners that nothing will take away their right for those lots to be residential single-family use. I also gave Mr. Catello the card for the mayor of East Point, Suzanne Pixley, because they are very much interested in having him consider bringing a restaurant of his caliber to that area. It's already zoned for that. Not that I want to have the one closed, and I think a lot of his concepts were very good, but it was short-sighted as far as the parking. There's a number of comments that are made, well, okay, let's not approve Oxford, but go ahead and finish on Eaton. You still can't do it because the deed restrictions say it's for single-family use. I haven't researched the apartments there, but even the Amber apartments are in violation of the deed restrictions because of the fact it's not a single-family use. And so I would suggest very highly that the board, the city council, reject this zoning ordinance change. I'm in the process, and I talked to Senator Rick Jones, who's the head of the Judiciary Committee in Lansing, and when they come back, they're going to introduce legislation.
Sir, can we be a little focused?
Sure. Give me 2 minutes and I'll finish.
Please.
But it would eliminate the problem, because what would happen if the city council approves this zoning change, then the property owners would have to sue to protect their property rights, and they're not wanting to do that. And I've had the opportunity of meeting these neighbors. I don't live there, but you know what? These are the nicest people in the world, and I appreciate the fact that they've banded together and have protected their rights. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to come to the microphone?
Hello there. My name's Tony Beswick. I live at 1090 Oxford, and I don't have any great speech prepared, but I've lived on Oxford for 6 years, and it's a very nice street. I think that this particular rezoning would actually be a tremendous detriment to the street and also to the city. So I would urge you to oppose it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sean Suida. I'm here with my wife, Gabrielle, and our unborn child. We're a resident of Eaton, and we're right across the street from the properties that have been affected on the north side there. We're right adjacent to the Amber Apartments. I want to make 2 points. The first one is procedural, and you can forgive. I'm just kind of operating based on logic here, but we have a planning commission, and they're staffed by great people who I understand are volunteers and are selected, due to their expertise and wanting to be able to contribute, in this particular area, and so they bring, their own. Collective experience, and they've looked at this, right? And they've recommended to you to say no. Yet, Mr. Catello came here and basically said the exact same things that he said there. It seems to me that there should be a higher burden at this point on him to explain to you why you should ignore the recommendation of your experts who have told you, recommended to you to vote no. And I haven't heard any of that, and I don't know if I'm out of line to suggest that, but it seems to me logical that there should be some higher burden on him rather than to just simply come to you again and repeat the same thing as before. The second point is I just want to plead with you to consider the state of Eaton as it currently exists with 2 abandoned homes and 1 torn down that was basically a mud pit for an extended period of time. Whatever you decide to do here today, the Eaton problem will still exist. And I guess I want to echo, well, I was standing here in solidarity with my neighbors on Oxford. But I want to just plead with you to consider that, whatever you do decide here, that it's, it's not over, that there's still a big problem that we have to deal with here, and sort of, I like what Tara had to say about asking you to lead. I mean, we really need you, our elected officials, to, lead these business people to come to an agreement and come to some sort of arrangement that will be beneficial to everyone, as opposed to individuals who just own pieces of property. So, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Tammy Polk. I live on Eaton, and I just want to agree with he says, getting up and down on the street's a nightmare. It's like almost impossible. So if you guys could please do something, because we've had to get nurses and stuff like that out the house, because as everybody know, my husband did get the gift of life. How do you get up and down? These people say, how do you get a street? Well, we come around. And like, how do you tell a nurse that's coming out to take care of your husband? Well, you gotta go around because you can't get up a street because of the bar on the corner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Joe McHugh. I live at 1940 Berkley. Comments are very brief. Reiterate the same position that I've had the first 2 meetings I've been at the Planning Commission. It's clear from the comments that made on behalf of the residents as well as the business side of things that we're not in agreement on this. And so I would urge you to vote no on both and to encourage both parties to sit down at a table, not too dissimilar from collective bargaining, and come up with an agreement that is amenable to both parties. And once we have an agreement, then we come back and present it as a group to the council, and that's it. So thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I urge you to vote no on both. Thanks.
Thank you. Does that conclude? Well, it doesn't.
One more.
One more.
Good evening, Mayor O'Dwyer and fellow members of the City Council. My name is Jim Chamberlain. I live at 1059 Oxford in Berkeley with my wife, Pat. I've been a resident of Berkeley for over 60 years. We've had 2 daughters and now 7 grandchildren that attend the Berkeley schools. And as I've stated in the past, we know that, and our fellow residents have stated that you people have all received all of our letters and stuff, and we appreciate that you've read all these. I'm trying to shorten this down because everybody has already said so many of the different things. The valet parking, right now they use the section of the bar right next to the bar for adjacent parking. As I've stated in some of my other meetings here, I would like to recommend that we change the alley to be redirected to travel north from the car bar parking and remove the privacy fence that's at the end of that alley to make it easier access for the cars to be able to travel north, go into the Charter One banking if they ever get that rearranged to be able to use their parking again, or scoot through that parking lot to be able to get over to the North Point Medical Building parking. As a resident of Berkeley, it appalls me at the amount of time that it has taken to have this resolved. Don't get me wrong, I do not necessarily want to see the bar close. It has been a favorite spot for many people, and that can be good for the city. It cannot, however, be at the expense of the community, the neighborhood, the city, and it cannot willfully destroy the beauty and tranquility of our neighborhood for the benefit of a single business owner. The car bar and Mr. Cotello need to be held accountable for their license agreement, which did not include using Oxford for new parking. The car bar and Mr. Cotello need to work with, not against, the community, the neighborhood, and the city of Berkeley. Once again, I voice my opinion to the opposition and of the proposals for rezoning of the first 4 houses on the north side of Oxford Street from single-family residence to parking district, and ask that you follow the recommendations of the Planning Commission and vote no on 0314 and 0414. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Gary Polk, I live on Eaton Street, and I just want to agree with the other gentleman who lives on Eaton Street. No matter what happens here today, we are still going to have a problem parking in our neighborhood. No matter what happens today, we are still going to need help from the city council and the city in getting this resolved. I don't want you to forget that, please, and thank you.
Thank you. Well, it sounds like we have completed all the input, and now it is the turn of City Council to discuss this matter. Oh, we have one more coming to the microphone. Yes, sir.
Mr. Catala spoke earlier. He indicated to you that I wanted to run through some of your master plan items to highlight them. My name is Neil Wallace, and I'm the attorney for Carbar. So if I may, just take a few moments. Of course, Carbar has been very fortunate to be a very kind of successful business that your master plan was designed to attract when you redid it in 2007. One of the goals set forth in the master plan was to diversify its tax basis. Now, when the Vincetta Garage as a repair facility was built almost 100 years ago, it was a very different time. And your master plan recognizes the inadequacy in the Woodward Corridor commercial district, saying very specifically that it underperforms compared to the Royal Oak side. And it points to a principal cause being the lack of sufficient depth. And it therefore designates, both on Eaton and on Oxford, a very significant future commercial development into the neighborhoods. That's not something that we brought about, but it's something that we relied on when we went looking for a solution to the practical problem of what we do about the parking. We didn't buy these homes and spend all that money in an effort to destroy a community, as been suggested here. So we have modern parking. What we've tried to establish with Vincetta, and I think the reason that the appraiser came to the conclusions he did, based on facts, based on a study, and you'll see it when you go through it, but what he established is really what the psychology of buyers and sellers is. People want to be in a walkable community. They want to have goods and services close by, and they want to be close to a major transportation corridor. So it is actually desirable for people to be close to Woodward. And I think that bears out when you go up and down Woodward in Berkley and in other communities. You'll see that the homes right next to commercial properties are well maintained, not just on Oxford, but on all your streets. People have invested in those properties. The other thing, the master plan is not just a designation, but for both Eaton and for Oxford, makes it available for commercial development. We relied on that designation and on the underlying rationale that's stated in the master plan. Again, it says that there is a limited amount and size of available developable land. It calls for additional land to be devoted to commercial and to service and better accommodate quality businesses in Berkley. Restaurants are specifically acknowledged as a use that you're trying to draw into the community. And the master plan specifically acknowledges that to accommodate businesses, significantly more property depth may be required, and the master plan encourages that approach. So again, as Mr. Catalo said, that approach became our approach in trying to find a practical solution, not just one that would comply with the ordinance. We're going just 4 houses. We know the city's expectation was just that we would go 3 houses deep. I know that your practice has been only 2 or 3 houses deep, typically throughout Berkley. What happened here, and the reason for the fourth house, is that fourth house was a catastrophe. It's not able to be occupied in its current state. And so we thought actually it would be a benefit to the community to add that to the parking facility. Now, the master plan would allow actual commercial development into the neighborhood, not just the parking. It would allow us to expand the restaurant. We have absolutely no plans to do that, no intention, no desire to do that. And so what we've done is requested merely a rezoning to parking district. That limits us to that specific use. Parking is recognized in planning circles, and I think in your master plan as well, as a low impact and transitional use. It is a buffer between the commercial and the residential, and it's a particularly important buffer here because it's going to take that traffic off the street and put it in this connected, dedicated parking area. We want something that will functionally solve the problem. Also, it is the trend of development along Woodward. As your properties are, your businesses are becoming more successful, and other businesses are watching what happens here to make a decision about coming to Berkeley, it's going to be necessary in these modern times for there to be sufficient parking. I had an opportunity to, I know you've seen an awful lot of the email traffic and letters to the Planning Commission and to you. In one of the very early ones from Mr. DeLong, who spoke here earlier, Ms. Dr. DeLong, I believe, he said, I fear it will be difficult and expensive to stop Vincetta Garage from using these three properties for parking. However, we should be able to leverage neighborhood pressure to make sure they do not repeat the Eaton eyesore. And by the way, about Eaton, we own 1010. We went through 3 revisions with the building department in order to get a building permit. We finally got the permit, got out there, and found out there's soil problems. We've paid a very substantial amount of money to a contractor. We are in all earnest about completing that. 1046, 2 doors away, has not been rezoned. You might have heard that earlier that it has been, but it has not been rezoned. In the DeLong memo, it went on to say, it is important that we all understand that an open parking lot with no thought to design and aesthetics will have a negative impact on our property values. We may not be able to stop Vincetta Garage from using these properties as parking, but we should be able to insist on the following: that the lots have landscaping, brick walls of sufficient height to separate the lot from neighboring properties, be properly serviced, have adequate drainage, lighting that does not interfere with our homes, and we should have a say in the flow in and out of the lot. We have covered all those things without ever having seen that memo, and that will be the site plan that is submitted upon rezoning. There's more I could say. There's an awful lot of what you've heard from the neighbors, and I understand their passion and their fear of uncertainty, of what will happen. That's why we had this study commissioned, to show that it will not have an effect on property values, but it also means it really doesn't have an effect on the charm and the cohesiveness of the neighborhood as well. We understand that there's going to be growing pains, but your master plan all but dictates that this is what should occur. There's really no compelling reason to deny it that I've heard. There is no alternative to your findings of fact that says that we must first seek any and all alternatives. We've done that. We've put a lot of time and effort into it, but it hasn't been successful. So we're asking you for this rezoning. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, now it falls to the council to discuss this item further. Parking discussions are actually a sign of a thriving community. But our task tonight is not to adjudicate between a successful business and their neighbors, but rather to decide what is best for our city as a whole. And on that thought, I will turn it over to my colleagues for any questions, discussion that you would like. Councilmember Blanchard.
I'm still concerned about the Eaton parking area, and I've got some questions probably for Mr. Cataldo or somebody. What is the future of the Eaton area, specifically 1010 Eaton? When will that be completed? And what is your intent with 1046 Eaton?
To answer those questions, Councilmember, 1010 is, as Mr. Wallace explained, under process. We had 3 different revisions with our engineering. Even though it's a small lot, it is a thoroughly engineered lot. It's connected into the drainage systems that are in Berkley. We paid for the building, obviously. We paid for the demolition. We've paid for the contractor to do this work. When the contractor started, they found some soil issues that required them to bring in substantially more soil. I want to say that we spent $17,000 on new soil for that site. And then there was no building that we could do during the winter. So those winter months were simply occupied when that was nothing but a slag lot. We brought in a slag coat, put it on there, and then used it to stack valet cars in an effort to keep these cars off of Eaton and Oxford. We are on this contractor as much as we can be because we understand that his performance is impacting our perception. And it would be a lot better if I could stand here today and say that the Oxford lot will look as good as this Eaton lot, because I can understand the perception that that is an eyesore and it's taken too long. I'm in the restaurant business. I am not in the parking lot construction business, and my patience has run out also. So I want to say that we gave our contractor a 45-day window. We're on him every day. We want this delivered. It's in compliance with all the permits and such, but it's not in compliance with our patients right now, but we're pushing.
What are your plans for, excuse me, what are your plans for 1046 Eaton?
1046 Eaton, our plans are, it's currently zoned as a single residence, but it's divided as a duplex. It had substantial damage from the previous tenant because of some water issues. Our plan is to restore that either to sell or to rent.
Councilmember Kadek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pretty much I was going to ask the same question that Councilmember Blanchard did, but where do you stand today with T-Mobile and Mr. Denna in your negotiations with the parking lot or the shared parking lot?
Yep, I think that T-Mobile rezoned their property, which I think is 1036. They rezoned it into parking, not because they need it currently, but because the cell phone business changes often, and in the future, whatever business occupies their building might require additional parking. As I understand it, they have plans for that property, and we've been sharing our drawings for 1010 with them to try to make these 2 lots look cohesive. As far as us working with them to lease that lot, it's cost prohibitive. One of the things that we learned that I explained as we met with Tara Hayes and the citizens were that we wanted to work with them, but for us, everything is paramount with duration. So for us, all negotiation is about duration, because we don't want to be here talking to you about anything except hamburgers. And so the issue with the negotiations with the T-Mobile folks is that the longest duration we could get was, I believe, 3 years. 3 years? 4 years? 4 years. So they would give us 4 years to use that lot. Now, the 4 years was contingent upon us paying for all of the engineering, us paying to tear down the house, us paying to put up the lot, and us paying to rent that on a yearly basis with a small increase every year. The issue that we had is that we could never make the math work to amortize that expense, and we have $200,000 into 1010. We couldn't amortize the cost of developing their lot for them over a 4-year cycle. The math just didn't work, and just as I would never ask any of you to do something to put your personal finances in peril, I trust that you can understand that we can't do anything that would put our finances in peril.
What do you consider a fair duration? You're saying 4 years is not enough.
I
What
think
were you looking for?
Our initial proposal was 30, and I agree that that 30 was a long proposal. Is that correct? It was 20. It was 30 to 20. And then what did we were willing to come down to a 15-year schedule or 20? 20. So we were willing to come down to 20, and I believe that the final number that they provided was 4. So you can see there's a pretty big discrepancy in the duration there, and it's simple math. And then when you talk about what we would get out of that lot, what we were talking about, I believe the lot was a 15-spot lot. As I understood it, we could use 9 of those spots. They would want 4 of those until 9 p.m. every night for their people. And the issue is that I don't want to get in the business of policing their lots. They do a very good job of marking their lot for no parking for T-Mobile customers only. I respect that. I don't want to get in trouble with their lot by having to police these 9 spaces throughout the day or night. And again, one of the things that you don't want in your neighborhoods are these oddly fractured parking lots. And we think that by having 1010 and T-Mobile having a dedicated spot for future needs makes sense without fracturing the plan. But again, we're talking about 9 spots at a cost of 11 spots? 11 spots at a cost of $200,000 that we have to amortize over 4 years. I mean, we would have to sell hamburgers for $25, and we'd have to sell this many of them.
Thank you, Mr.
Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in on this? Mayor Pro Tem Turbright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First off, I want to thank the residents for attending, the applicant, and the Planning Commission for all of the time that everybody has put into trying to come to a solution for the residents, for the city of Berkeley, not just for the residents, for everybody. Periodically, these issues come before the council, and they typically end up pitting a business against residents because we're talking about rezoning, we're talking about taking away residential housing in order to transition to a different use. Each one of these is very, very different, very distinct, certainly come on a case-by-case basis, and the Planning Commission, as they've done in this case, will give us their recommendation. Their recommendation is not always 7-0 or 9-0. Quite frequently, there are dissenters in there, and then it's up to this body to try to come to what we feel is the best interest for the city. We've heard about duration, and during the Planning Commission meeting, the 2 businesses that have been mentioned talked about their duration and their businesses and how their businesses change. And they're charged with looking at the future, and they have to have a plan moving forward and know what they want for their businesses. It's no different from us, okay? We're not running a business. We were elected by our neighbors to try to make decisions that we feel is on their best behalf. And that's what we're looking at right now. We are trying to decide what decision we think is best, not just for the residents on Oxford, the residents on Eaton, not just for Vincetta, not just for T-Mobile or anybody else, what we feel is the best for the city moving forward. And that duration is a key, is a very important term, okay? For us, that duration isn't 5, 10, 20 years. I mean, that's what we want our city to look like into the foreseeable future. We're not talking about possibly, changing things or hoping to change things into the future. We want to make a decision that we can stick with, be proud of, and we all, we're not residents. I don't think any of us are residents of Oxford or Eaton, so it's a little different for us. We don't have that personal passion built into this because we don't live in that area. But we understand, and we understand that we have to make a decision that's going to take care of everybody in this situation. In a few moments, we'll see if any of our other my council members up here have any input on this. I am not certain at this point that we know what the best option is. In my personal opinion, I'm not speaking for anybody. I'm not sure what the best option is. I do think that there is a very valid discussion that we're having today, a valid discussion that probably is going to continue into the future, regardless of what decision that we make today. I do want to say that I think having the restaurant in Berkley is a good thing for the city, but we have a lot of residents that also need to be happy. So that's a very difficult decision that we are struggling with right now.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councilmember Baker.
Sure. Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to begin again with my gratitude and appreciation for all the thoughtful comments that's gone into this across the board. I think the caliber of the preparation, the depth of research, the care with which the conversations have taken place over the last several months is commendable all around. I think by and large, it represents the best of Berkeley as we seek to represent our various positions as a whole. I really do support that. I think that's incredible stuff. I also appreciate the importance of looking not only to today's issues and circumstances, but to the future. I like those comments as well. The notion of having a master plan is to look far out into the future, imagine what situations and conditions will be for us as a region, as a community, and as residents and homeowners and businesses, and then trying to balance the measured steps that we take towards that vision into the future. And these are one of those measured steps that we can assess here tonight. I'll also add that I think I know a little bit later on we'll get into the procedural stuff around do we do it all, do we slice it up, all that kind of stuff. We'll cover the mechanics of it soon enough. So I'll still speak more to just the intent at the moment here. We do have a very successful business. I love the fact that I don't love this issue, but I love the fact that we have the opportunity to talk about how to help a business remain successful and continue to preserve that which makes our neighborhoods great. I don't live at Oxford or Eaton, but I'm nearby there. I'm right off of Woodward. I have the great pleasure of enjoying that walkable community that we talk about, the ability to access that. I look forward to the greater options that transit may offer to us if we're able to pursue that path down the road. I've studied the general notion of property values as it pertains to transit and to booming businesses and to those who would like to live next to a business like this. So those need to be part of my thinking, because we've walked to the garage on many occasions and enjoyed it, and we have friends that live on Eaton, so I'm certainly can understand all of the situations and all of the perspectives here. And again, I appreciate hearing those both tonight and in the prior sessions. As I think about the opportunities here, I do want to see, and we'll get some additional weigh in and then come back for the dialogue, I suppose. How we can, so we're setting a precedent here, right, in terms of how we, as Berkeley, as members of our community and our neighborhoods, think about our future, not only, again, for Berkeley, but along the Woodward corridor. And other folks are watching us, and this is important. We want to have strong businesses. As we think about the revitalizing city of Detroit, and we think about the region that we have and the opportunities along Woodward and elsewhere, this kind of conversation, I think, is very important, and the way in which we go about it is very important. So I'm thinking about not only where we land, but how we get there, and so I'm really appreciative of that. As I think about this specific proposal, I personally will not be voting for or against a business or for or against residents. I will be voting my opinions around how we can help take steps towards reaching that conclusion in a way that's beneficial to all of us. And so I'm looking for that win-win here, and I think it's within our grasp.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you. I just want to say one thing I forgot before. I want to definitely thank the Planning Commission for the in-depth that they went into and their two meetings. I thought they were excellent. I thought they gave great consideration to all facets of this. And I have not seen any additional information brought forward above and beyond what was said there. So one of our residents said that this should be held to a higher level because, and what's new? I haven't seen anything new, so that's my concern right now. Thank you.
Very good. Anybody else?
would just concur with what Councilmember Blanchard just said, in that I have not seen anything new that we have not already seen. I can understand everybody's point of view in this, and I certainly understand the passion of all of the residents. I'm not sure we've gotten to the point where we actually have a viable solution without exploring the Eaton options and so on.
Very good. Councilman Kadek.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I'm sitting here listening to my colleagues. I listen to the residents. I listen to Carbar. And, you know, this is not an easy task. And I watched both Planning Commission meetings, and I want to thank the Planning Commissioners and Ms. Vampson for the time they've put into this, as well as administration. I just, when I asked about the duration, and we're talking about 4 years, 15 years, right now, you have to crawl before you walk. And you have to start somewhere. And with all due respect, hearing that we don't want to be before you in 4 years, asking again what we should do or not do, you have to begin somewhere. And I think possibly the 4-year duration may be a good start. We do need to clear up one street before we start on another street. Some of the words used tonight were safety, decrease in value. I mean, those are things we have to take into consideration. I applaud the viable business that you have. And I applaud the residents for caring so much about their community as they do. But I think that we're at a point now where we've got to crawl before we walk. And as a couple of my colleagues mentioned, we haven't seen anything new. And there's, excuse the cliche, but there's more than one way to skin a cat. And there's more than one way to get things done. And I know he was quoted earlier, but Mr. Martin Smith said, Commissioner Smith said that there's got to be other solutions. There's got to be other opportunities for these businesses to get together and work out something that would be advantageous to not only the residents of Oxford and Eaton, to Vincetta, Carbar, but to the entire city of Berkeley. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, then, Kurt.
Mayor, may I? One of the recurring themes I've heard from the council members in this last discussion is that we haven't brought anything new to the table. Well, in fact, at a sizable expense, we did bring something new to the table, and that's the appraisal, which we thought would address the primary fears that we were hearing from the residents of Oxford, which is that their property values would be hurt if a parking lot came up to their house. And I think that document shows that it will not hurt the value of the homes. And that was something that we couldn't answer without commissioning at sizable expense this report from the appraiser. As far as anything else that we brought to the table, it's very important that the reason we haven't brought anything else to the table is that your master plan hasn't changed since we began this process. It's still the North Star that we're following. And when I heard these residents say that we haven't reached out to talk to them about potential solutions, unless they were able to interpret the master plan in a different way than we were able, that our council was able, and unless they were able to rent spots in their driveways or on their lawns to us like you're outside of Michigan Stadium, I don't really know what that would have done. That's why we've used this forum, and we've used your documents and your master plan as our beacon. And that's what's brought us this far. As far as negotiating, I have to say that that the residents, that the committee worked very hard to put together a meeting with us and these neighboring landlords. But the simple fact is that our parking problem, the traffic problem on Oxford and Eaton, belongs to us. It doesn't belong to T-Mobile, and it doesn't belong to Charter One. It doesn't belong to North Point, even though they were able to give us a 5-year agreement, which we thought was very neighborly. But you know, if we were to do a shorter term, there's more ways to skin a cat. The problem is that we're the cat. And so at a certain point, you know, 4 years of carrying the kind of load that you would have to carry to develop a lot for a neighbor to give them in 4 years is prohibitive, not just as far as cost is concerned, it's prohibitive to business. We wouldn't be here in 4 years because we wouldn't be able to survive it. If you look at folks over in downtown Royal Oak, you know what they spend on parking, and that's nothing. If we had this business in downtown Royal Oak, we're not paying $54,000 a year for valet, which we do based on recommendations from the City Council. We wouldn't be buying homes on Oxford with the hope to convert them into a parking district pursuant to a master plan. We sure wouldn't be spending $200,000 on 15 muddy spots that we're trying to develop on the corner of Eaton. And we wouldn't be having to hear ourselves in front of the Planning Commission and Council either. The fact is that we're doing all of this because we're following a beacon that Berkeley's laid out. And all we're asking is to tell us where the lighthouse is, and we'll head that way. Following that beacon into 1036, those are rocks, and we know that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Blanchard.
I have a question for Mr. Cataldo. 1036, you mentioned a cost of $200,000 to develop that parking lot. Is that correct?
1010. 1036 is owned by T-Mobile.
I mean, okay. If you said that they want you to develop that parking lot and rent it from, isn't that what you said?
Correct.
And what was the estimated cost to develop that parking lot?
We're basing that on the 15-spot lot that we have. Our lot factors in the cost of acquiring the home and tearing it down. This one, they've already acquired the home. So it should be less than $200,000.
The average cost for parking lots varies from $1,500 to $3,500 per space. Using a figure of 5,000 because of the land condition in the city of Berkeley, calculated that out to be about $65,000, $70,000. And I thought I heard you say $200,000 at one time.
Which is what we've spent on 1010.
Okay, 1010 is significantly bigger.
Which includes the property. So as far as the 1036 lot.
But 1036 has the same amount of spots as 1010.
Yeah, so the footprints are
No, not according
similar.
to our data. 1010 is 15 spots and 1036 is 14.
Okay.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that, guy. I thought I heard you say 200,000, and I don't think that is a correct figure for establishing a parking lot.
I want to say, like, for example, the bid that we accepted from the contractor for the 1010 lot was $148,000. So for us, when we gave him a lot which had a slag already on it from this winter as a baseline lot, the home was already gone. The contractor from that point wanted $150,000. Now at 1036, you have a home to still remove. There's no slag under it. So I'm guessing that it's going to be somewhat comparable.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to remind us again that the focus of our decision is the Oxford situation, those 4 properties on Oxford. And that is what we are going to have to vote on in a few moments. Is there a general sense, first of all, that we are nearing the ability to vote on this matter? Okay. Well then, let me share my thoughts on this important matter. It comes down to this for me, that Vincetta Garage is required to have a certain amount of spaces, about 64 spaces or so, to operate their business. And in the immediate area, there are about, by my calculations, 248 spaces available. And most of those spaces are empty at the exact times Vincetta Garage needs parking. I'm persuaded that there are several other viable options that should be explored. I think we need to come to creative solutions to resolve this issue. We need more cooperation and less concrete. And so my view is that I will be voting anyway to deny all 4 lots. Before we do, I'd like to, before we take the vote, I'd like to thank everyone for your participation. I'd like to thank the applicant and his staff, the residents. I'd like to thank the Planning Commission for the amazing groundwork that they did. They made our task easier because we had the opportunity of seeing the Planning Commission meetings, both of them, hearing the residents' presentations then and tonight. I am heartened by the remarkably high standard of civil debate we had tonight. I could imagine Thomas Jefferson sticking his head in around that camera over there and wanting to say, "That's what I'm talking about." That's democracy. The folks in Washington could learn a lot from you, and I am thankful for the high standard, high quality discussion we had tonight. What is the pleasure of the council? Mayor Pro Tem Turbrack.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you mentioned, we are talking strictly about the rezoning. That is our decision to make right now. I move that we deny 0314 and 0414.
Support.
It has been moved by the Mayor Pro Tem that we deny the application with support from Councilmember Alan Kideckel. Is there any discussion on the motion on the floor? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you. I'd like to just, it's hard to follow a speech like that, fellas. Phenomenal. I love that. I do, that notion of certainty and that notion of continuity is important to us all, both from a business that's trying to make the math work, from residents that are trying to raise their families, from a city that's trying to elevate and develop the region, and to this part of Michigan as we look to really see what we can do to put a strong foot forward. So it's through that lens that I really think that by supporting this motion here tonight, we will actually be paving the way, if you pardon the pun, to a broader conversation around how can we do this again. I think there's so many creative ideas here. There's so much we can do. I love the point about the history. When I think about the turnover and some of the facilities that were mentioned in that esteemed tome of wisdom, just saying, I'm not biased. What many of those, but not all of them, but what many of those shared was the footprint, the geography. Many of those fine businesses of days gone by came from the evolution of the prior one. They inherited the same facility. So when we think about the importance of providing continuity and dependability and reliability for the residents and for the neighbors, that's all that much more important. That list that was shared earlier in terms of the turnover. We want to see the reduction of that turnover because that means the businesses are successful, and the reason they're successful is they work well with the community. They have the support they need from the municipality and the region, and that's what really creates a vibrant, thriving business and a region. I think we can do that. We have everything we need as a city. We have the tools we need. We have the great residents. We have great businesses. There's every opportunity to do this, to provide that long-term continuity and consistency that we need. I'm in favor of that vision. I'm in favor of that motion. I'm in favor of moving forward to find a creative dialogue that we can have together to help craft something that works for all of us, so that the businesses can continue to be successful, so that the residents can continue to raise their families, and we can help lead the way for the region as we think about the revitalization of Greater Detroit. So that's where I stand. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To be sure, my motion is not a motion against Vincetta or a motion in favor of the residents. Far too often these get painted as somebody versus somebody else situation. It shouldn't be thought of like that. I understand that it's human nature. You have somebody you think is going to win and somebody who you think is not going to win. That's not the case here. The motion was made because I do believe that there are a number of options that we can look at as a council and that we can work with the businesses to remedy the parking situation. Is there an issue? Certainly there is an issue. As was brought up, simply making a motion to deny this rezoning does not all of a sudden fix anybody's problem. It's the start of something, but we need to have a very practical solution, and we need to work together to find a solution that works for everybody. I certainly don't want to see Vincetta go anywhere. I don't want this painted as, oh, that the city is against Vincetta Garage. That's not the case. We want the business here. We want the residents happy, and I think that there are solutions for the benefit of Berkley, certainly down the road, as Councilmember Baker has mentioned, that are better options than rezoning.
Thank you. Does that exhaust the discussion?
Just one more thing.
One more thing from Councilmember Stedman.
We really rarely go beyond 2 lots in terms of rezonings. 4 lots is really quite extensive. I just wanted to make that a point.
Very good. On that note, then, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on ordinance 0314 and 0414?
Turbrack?
Now, to be
Wait, just,
clear,
yeah, double check.
to be clear, what we are voting on is the motion.
Yes.
A
to
yes
deny.
vote is
Denies.
deny, not a no vote, to make sure that everybody up here is clear and everybody in the audience trying to figure out what is happening. I vote yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. The application is denied on all 4 properties. And now the task of the council is not completed. We have other items to attend to. We thank all of you for being here. We thank the media for being here. And perhaps shall we take a recess? Is there a motion to recess?
Motion to recess.
Motion to recess for 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We'll take a little recess. Okay, calling our meeting to order once again. Ms. Boucher, we're ready now to move on to item number 10. Would you please read item number 10?
Motion number M4914, matter of approving Hubble, Roth, and Clark's HRC proposal to prepare a water system reliability study and general plan in the amount not to exceed $35,000 and authorizing the city manager to sign proposed agreement.
Is there a motion to approve M4914?
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Kadakel, supported by Councilmember Baker.
Thank you.
Mr. Sessa.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. You know, under this item, we are required under Part 12 of Michigan's Safe Drinking Water Act. And to help me identify what we're proposing, we're asking the City Council to consider this evening, is our Director of Public Works, Mr. Derek Schuler. He'll give us a little bit of detail as to what is being proposed with us tonight. And also, Mayor, City Council, we do have with us present our city engineer, HRC, represented by Mr. Tom Beal, and also, and forgive me,
Roland Alex.
and Roland Alex. Thank you, Roland. Thank you.
Good evening. Before you tonight is a proposal from our engineers to prepare a water system reliability study and a general plan. And this is a requirement of the MDEQ. Mr. Sessa mentioned the Safe Drinking Water Act, and this is a requirement of that act. The last time we did a water system reliability study was approximately 5 years ago, and it is up and due, and we will need to have one produced before the end of the calendar year, so we're eager to get started with that. There's two components to it. There's a reliability study and a general plan. The general plan is a relatively new component, but they were both required by the deadline, and I have had meetings with the MDQ, audit meetings, and this item has come up, which is why we budgeted for it and prepared to undertake the study. Attached is the proposal from HRC in an amount not to exceed $35,000. HRC has done several of these studies, including for our wholesale water provider, Southeastern Oakland County Water Authority, SACWA, so they're certainly familiar with this type of study, and we're prepared to move forward, and we're eager to see the results of this study and how they paint the picture for us moving forward. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions, discussion of this item? Councilor Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, thank you for being here and for your patience here as we talk about this important item now, too. Could you describe a little bit for us what the process is? Does somebody just sit around and kind of, that tastes good? Or tell us a little bit about how we determine the clean water and then the duration. How long does a study like this usually take?
Sure. One of the first components of this study will be to prepare to actually update our hydraulic water model. So HRC 5 years ago prepared an electronic version, a water model for us, and what that does is it helps us understand pressures and flows throughout the city system, and we're going to update that model and bring it up to current conditions. That's a very important part of this study, and that will give us some sense of what we want to look at 5 years out, 20 years out when it comes to capital improvements. It's a very important document. You know, we can look at water main breaks, which we've had discussions about. We can look at other things, but ultimately this study is going to point us in the direction of what we want to look at and what we want to look at first. And we're going to focus, breaks are a component of that, but there's other components as well, including pressures throughout the system. So we're going to be looking at all of that. It sort of brings it all together. And, we're going to be, our staff is going to be out with HRC doing hydrant flow tests. So we'll make sure we update the city website, notify residents when we do flow tests. So we're going to be opening up hydrants essentially and getting an idea of pressures and flows at certain spots throughout the system, and then they will use that in their hydraulic model. So that will be a component. So residents in those areas may see some brown water for a short period of time, but it will only be a short period of time, and that will give us some very valuable information to put together the hydraulic model. And we have to have it done by December 31st, so we're going to get started right away on that.
Nice. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. Will this provide us any information on our condition of our mains? We know we've got a lot of very old mains in the city of Berkeley, and we're going to have to replace some of them shortly. Will this aid us in determining our priorities on where we should go if we get some money to start replacing water mains?
It will. It will. Along with factoring in the water main break frequencies, it will, because I think the pressure component in all of this is also a very important consideration and is one that we don't know until we do something like this, where our pressures and flows are. So it's a very important piece of figuring out what our capital improvement needs are, the specifics of those needs.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing no additional questions, discussion, then Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M4914?
Blanchard,
Yes.
Hideko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. Now, Ms. Boucher, could you please read item number 11?
Motion number M5014, matter of approving Hubble, Roth and Clark HRC to complete design services for the Coolidge resurfacing project, 12 Mile to Webster, in an amount not to exceed $40,000, and authorizing the city manager to sign proposed agreement.
Is there a motion to approve M5014?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Baker with support by Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Sessa.
Council, I know as we consider this project, many residents out there are just thanking us that we're beginning this this project. It is long awaited. I know that I get more calls than not to ask me, when are we going to begin on this project? Our engineers are here this evening to answer any questions that you may have, but just again to give us a summation of what this is all about, I've asked our Public Works Director to do so. Derek?
Thank you. Coolidge Highway, north of 12. As many of you know, we have received a federal grant for this project for approximately half of the total costs. Unfortunately, that's 2016 MDOT funds, and we have pushed to get this project going sooner than 2016. So we are pursuing the advanced construct alternative, which essentially means that we front the money for the entire project, and the feds through MDOT reimburse us their piece during the fiscal MDOT year of 2016. So tonight before you is strictly the design proposal phase for this project. So to authorize HRC to start design, which includes soil borings and topography, those sort of things, to get the project going. One of the most important components of this project is the schedule. And we, the city of Berkeley, do not dictate the schedule for this project. The feds do, because we are dealing with federal money. There is a very defined schedule that we have to follow in order to get those reimbursement funds. So the spring of 2015 is what we are looking at for construction. Again, the spring of 2015 is what we're projecting, and that's following this prescribed schedule to a T, which means we're going to be going out for bid over the winter months, which is good because we can get the best prices from contractors, and then we will open bids after the first of the year and get started basically as the season turns, again, the spring of 2015. So before you tonight is that engineering proposal from our consultants in the amount of $40,000. Tom Beal is here, and I'd like him to come up and just give a little bit of maybe background on Coolidge itself from a rating perspective.
Thank you, Derek. As you know, we did road ratings using the nationally recognized PASER rating system of the roads in the city of Berkeley. And just to get a handle on where Coolidge falls, it's in the poor category, okay? I don't think anybody's surprised by that. The section of Coolidge north of the city limits, which was done last year by the Road Commission, I think you all know was in better condition than the section in Berkeley. The Road Commission somehow got higher points than Berkeley did when we made the submittal the first time. But we did submit, and they have funded for the 2016 fiscal calendar. When they did their section of Coolidge Road, if you recall the construction there, they basically were looking at a 3-inch to 4-inch section there. What we had proposed in this particular segment is the curbs appear to be in good shape and can be salvaged, but we're talking about milling down between 4 and 5 inches and putting 4 to 5 inches of new material back. We do need to take some cores. We have the plans from the Coolidge Road widening when it was done, and they indicate that we should have 5 inches of asphalt over 8 inches of concrete, but we need to core it to make sure that's what was put down and what's there. So when we mill, we get down to where the concrete was, then we bring it back up again, and that's what the plan will be here. And as Derek had indicated, the county has a very strict schedule. We have to have what's called a grade inspection after we prepare the plans with the county. They go over it. We have to submit to them for their approvals to meet their requirements, and then we bid on their schedule. The project is then approved. It would be approved in February, and construction could commence as early as March of next year, but realistically, asphalt plants don't open till April, so the contractors usually gear up around April 1st, April 10th, and that's when the work would proceed if this project was to go in 2015. Glad to answer any questions.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you both for being here. When did we first submit to RCOC? How long ago was it to try to get this project on?
Yeah, multiple years. I want to say 4 to 5 years I've seen program applications, so that's a very good point. We have been trying.
We've been trying to do this for a long time, and it's, you know, we take our roads and our road condition very, very seriously here, and we want to maintain our roads. And the fact that we had applied for all of these years, for the residents at home, it's not that we just ignored it to the point where we said, oh my gosh, it's in bad shape, let's fix it. We've been trying to do this. They finally put us on the 2016 calendar. That's still a year and a half away from where we are right now. So we are, as you mentioned, front loading. We're gonna foot the bill to move it up a year. We're gonna follow everything that we have to do, but we are going to pay the full cost and hope that we end up getting reimbursed then back. We will get reimbursed, assuming that we follow the correct steps. But it's something that's very important to us. It's not just the residents, and I know we're joking about the condition. It's in very poor condition, don't get me wrong, but it's a very serious issue. And we want to make sure that all of our roads are maintained to the highest quality. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Blanchard.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you give me an estimate on what the life of the road would be with, we got 8 inches of concrete and 5 inches of HMA over the top of that?
Typically, and I know you've heard me say this before, on mill and overlay jobs, if you did it on a residential subdivision and you were putting a 2-inch overlay on, the 7 to 10 year is what they use for a mill and overlay. When you're talking about a 5-inch section, it's more of a deep strength section, and you're basically talking in the range of 15 years for that type of service. Will there be some reflective cracking? Absolutely. You realize when you've got that concrete underneath and there's joints there, you put the new asphalt on, even if it's 5 inches thick, eventually those joints will crack through. You need to then go in and joint seal to keep the water out. The longer you keep it joint sealed, the longer it'll last.
So our residents can expect 15 years of good road.
Basically.
Also, if I could just briefly, I'd like to introduce Roland Alex. He's one of the young partners at Hubble, Roth & Clark. I brought him in trial under fire tonight so we get a chance to see a hot meeting. He'll be doing a lot of the heavy lifting, and I'm going to bring him in and get involved a little bit and help me with the account.
If you don't mind, Mr. Alex.
Yeah, just briefly, Roland Alex, Vice President at Hubble, Roth & Clark. So I look forward to working with Berkley in the future along with Tom. Thank you.
Very good.
And he's a Michigan graduate, and I'm a Michigan State grad, and we can somehow work together, so that's pretty good.
Oh, no.
You see, cooperation is possible.
We try.
Thank you. Councilman Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor, and thanks to all of you. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You came for a kind of an easy meeting tonight, you know.
I told him the cameras were there for him. He didn't believe me.
Yeah. So, but this is great. So certainly I support this. I think this is an important step forward. One of the things that folks see first when they enter the city, I mean, they see the signs, and so we have some wayfinding stuff underway to kind of sharpen up the image. But then the next thing they feel is the roads that they're driving on. And so as you go southbound on Coolidge, you know, you can't help but see the Welcome to Berkley sign and then start juddering around. And so I really appreciate, you know, the fact that we have been trying for many years to move this project forward. Thanks to the tenacity of our leaders here in the city to move this forward. We're finally at that point when we can begin talking about engineering. So I actually do have a question in here somewhere. The extent to which this stage of the journey takes place. Can you describe a little bit about the timing, and then what will residents see? So you mentioned the notion of boring and stuff like that. Are they cut a little hole like that, or is it a big expansive? Can you describe that a little?
When they go in to do the corings, they will be drilling a hole that's about 4 inches diameter, and they will immediately refill it. There will be a crew there with an arrow bar to keep traffic off that lane when they're drilling it, and then they immediately refill it. That material indicates what the cross section is, so we know exactly what we've got and what kind of condition it's in. So when we do the design for the new road, we can, if the concrete underneath is real bad, we may go a little deeper on the section just to make sure we get it. So, and we also look for bad spots for, we're going to try and make repairs where we can. As you know, there's a lot of cold patch on top there, so when they mill it off, some of that will be usable, most of it won't. So that's part of the job.
Great. How many samples and how long does that take?
We'll be taking probably somewhere around 12 to 15 samples total. You'll do 4 on each side, plus there's a couple locations where structures have been adjusted, and that was years ago that were done. We want to check at those locations to make sure that when those structures were redone, how was that done? Was it done with concrete, with asphalt, or was it all asphalt? So we get a feel for what we're going to do when we do the replacement. In terms of timing of the project, if you all lived through the section to the north of you, it'll be a similar type procedure. They'll probably flip the traffic to one side, do the 2 lanes, then flip it to the other side, do the other 2 lanes. And in a project of this size, I would expect the construction duration to be in the range of 12 to 16 weeks.
Nice. And then this particular part of the adventure, the coring and
The
stuff?
coring, the coring only takes, they'll do that over a course of 1 day.
Sure.
It's done very quickly. It
Just
might
in and
take
out.
2 at the most.
Great. Thank you.
Good. Councilmember Blanchard.
One more thing, Your Honor. I noticed in one of your notes here, you mentioned readjusting at 12 Mile, the lane readjustment. Would you explain that?
Yeah, there's a slight misalignment there, and we want to try and straighten that out as part of this improvement. It's not difficult to do, and it's something that probably should have been done years ago when that intersection, but we're going to take care of that as part of this project.
It'll make the intersection a little easier to
navigate
maneuver through.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Then, Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M5014?
Kadeco?
Yes.
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read number 12?
Motion number M5114, matter of awarding the 2014 CDBG Sidewalk Ramp Replacement Program to Keola T Construction of Royal Oak, also known as KTC, Michigan, an amount of $52,000. In addition, authorize $2,000 to Hubble, Roth and Clark, HRC, for construction engineering services.
Is there a motion to approve M5114?
Move to approve M5114.
Moved by Councilmember Kadeco with support by Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Sessa.
You know, Council, as you know, as we're going through these items, I'm sure you're familiar with them. We talked about them during the budget process, and so we're moving quickly. You know, Michigan has such a short time frame for construction, so our engineers working very closely together with our Director of Public Works to get these items done. Next, that we'd like for you to consider is our 2014 CDBG Sidewalk Replacement Program. And here, we work also very closely with the city planner, because she's the administrator of this program as well. But Mr. Schuler will give us a review in terms of the outcome of our bids. Mr. Schuler?
Thank you. So sealed bids were received on July 8th from 3 contractors for the 2014 CDBG program. And we're looking to do upgrades in several intersections near Patton Gill School and J.C. Park. Prairie and Morrison, Oakshire and Morrison, Royal and Morrison, Buckingham and Morrison, and Tyler and Morrison. And we're looking to utilize CDBG funds for these ramps, and we're also putting in the detectable warning, the ADA compliant ramps that we've done on several intersections throughout the city. So we took bids for this work, and Quality Construction, who council is very familiar with, we are certainly familiar with. They do a good job for us. They seem to get all of the bids these days. They were the low bidder on the project at $52,000. And we had HRC look all the numbers over, and it looks good. And so we're prepared to move forward and award the bid to Quality. And they will be starting this work and completing this work prior to the start of school, which is very important. The project has CDBG funds, and what that means is we will have to follow the Davis-Bacon provisions for this project, and the contractor is aware of those provisions as well as the other federal regulations that are needed for this job. Funds have been budgeted. We've been working very closely with Amy Vanson, as the city manager mentioned. She administers this project, works directly with Oakland County on it, and we are prepared to go, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Yeah,
Thank you,
Councilmember
Your Honor.
Blanchard.
This is the same company that did the Coolidge parking lot. Is there any punch list items open from that job yet, or have we get that completed?
Nope, that one is completed.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Any other questions, discussion on this? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you again for your work in helping to move this forward. It's important to ensure that it's safe for our residents to traverse in and around the neighborhoods. We talked earlier about the value that we place on the walkability in our neighborhoods and the high walk score index that we have, and this will help ensure that we can do so safely. For any given intersection or crosswalk, could you describe the approximate timing from the perspective of the residents if they used that particular corner?
Sure,
What would be the
we've
delay?
had some discussions with the contractor already, and he is going to be moving in August and completing the job in August, in his mind, in about a week's time frame, right before our substantial completion date, which is, again, before school starts. So he is prepared to mobilize and have the work done within a week. I think it's going to be probably closer to 2. And then restoration, we're going to kind of play by ear a little bit. If we've got to come back when the weather is more appropriate for that, we will do that. There's no sense in restoring something that we know has a high probability of failure. So we're going to kind of assess that based on the weather conditions.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Well then, Ms. Boucher, will you please call the roll on M5114?
Stedman?
Yes.
Turbrack?
Yes.
Baker?
Yes.
Blanchard?
Yes.
Kadeco?
Yes.
O'Dwyer?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Derek. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 13?
Motion number M5214, matter of authorizing the city manager to enter into a 3-year agreement, including an optional 1-year extension with Commercial Climate Controls Corporation to provide heating, ventilation, and air conditioning preventative maintenance services for City Hall, District Court, Public Safety, Parks and Recreation, and Public Works, in an annual amount not to exceed $8,696.78 per year.
Is there a motion to approve M5214?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Blanchard, support by Councilmember Kadeco. Mr. Sessa.
You know, Council, this is probably one of our most difficult projects that we're working on. And the reason it's difficult is because we incorporated all of our departments in the city of Berkeley that we could. Obviously, in the memo that was put together by my assistant, Darshelle Strickland Love, she explains that a few departments, because of various reasons, we weren't able to include, such as the library. The library will continue to have their own contractor because it works best for them. But for the most part, we're trying to determine the best costs and efficiencies. And so here what we did was we went out to bid and we asked, she worked together with our Director of Public Works, by the way. We asked various companies to come out and examine all our departments, all our buildings, I should say, and to come up with a cost on preventative maintenance for heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. So based on that review, these various entities came to our City Hall and our various departments, and they gave us our best bid. But I'd like our Director of Public Works, if he can just please elaborate a little further on this review.
Thank you. I put together a specification for this bid, and Darshelle Strickland Love helped tremendously in coordinating with all the city departments on this. And we went out to bid for this 3-year agreement. We utilized the city building department as well for input on this, and we hope put together a fairly comprehensive spec to address preventative maintenance activities. Again, these are going to be the costs that we will certainly see to replace belts, filters, those sort of things. There's also a time and materials component for stuff that's not preventative maintenance. If it's cold in an area, we have to have service. The hourly rates are dictated by this document as well, so those will cover that component as well. But preventative maintenance was the important piece, so that we've got something regular happening with respect to belts and filters. So we went out to bid, and Commercial Climate Controls Corporation was the low bid on that. I did contact several of the references that were listed there, and they all had good things to say about them. They're responsive. They show up when they're supposed to show up, and they do good work. They also do some work, or have done some work, for Parks and Rec. So Director Tom Colwell mentioned that he was very satisfied with what they've done with them in the past as well. So we're prepared and excited to move forward with this and start the preventative maintenance contract. Again, it is a 3-year agreement, including an option to extend an additional year.
Thank you. Any discussion on this important matter? Seems to be fairly clear that this is a useful project and an important one and a timely one as well. Thank you, Derek, for all your work on that.
You're welcome.
Ms. Bowers, would you please call the roll on M5214?
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Hideko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Now, Ms. Boucher, would you read item number 14, please?
Motion number M5314, matter of authorizing Gallagher Fire Equipment Company, 30895 West 18 Mile Road, Livonia, Michigan, 48152, to lower sprinkler heads and to conduct related work on the fire suppression system in the library at a cost not to exceed $5,000 from the building maintenance account 101-738-931-000.
Is there a motion to approve M5314?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Councilmember Hideko.
Support.
Support by Mayor Pro Tem Terbrack. Mr. Sessa.
No, Council, at the last meeting, you heard a report from our Parks and Recreation Director to address this issue. Now before you, you have our Library Director as well to ask for the same type of repair, but a little different. With that, I'll turn it over to our Director. Matt Church, by the way.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
evening. Shortly after I arrived in fall of 2013, we discovered that approximately 20 sprinkler heads in the entry, front desk, and public restroom areas were too high into the ceiling. So if these sprinkler heads needed to discharge in the event of an emergency, their effectiveness would be dangerously reduced. So I met with Cardinal Fire Protection to look at this project and come up with a rough dollar figure for that project. That was then incorporated into the upcoming fiscal year. Derek Schuler from DPW and Pete Kelly from Code Enforcement were also very helpful in putting this project together. The library went to bid with Parks and Rec early in June for this project. We asked respondents for pricing to lower the sprinkler heads, install adjustable head drops, and create necessary access panels to complete this work. We heard from 2 companies, and those bids were received on June 9th. Cardinal Fire Protection Company, $6,500. They did the 3 elements that I just outlined. And then Gallagher Fire Equipment Company came in just under $1,300. And they just addressed it by lowering the sprinkler heads. They did not recommend adjustable head drops, and they were confident that they could complete this work without any of the access panels. So I met with Pete Kelly and looked over the 2 proposals or bids, and then I met with someone from Gallagher and asked for more details how they would go about this work without the access panels. There is clearly a huge price difference here, and I wanted to make sure that we had a clear understanding of how that would be done. Pete Kelly and I both recommend going with Gallagher. You'll see that I've stated in an amount not to exceed $5,000. It is possible that they'll need some access panels, and they may need to do some additional work as they get into this project, but it should be much closer to their bid amount.
Very good. Any additional discussion, questions on this matter for the library? Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for your research with this. It's important to ensure that as the patrons use the facility, and of course the employees and folks that are there are safe, and hopefully we'll never need those things, but if we do, we want to know that it's operational, right? So in terms of the work that's being proposed, to what extent would the residents and patrons notice an impact? Would we be closed for a week, or can you describe a little bit about what we'd see and feel with that?
Sure. They'll drain the entire sprinkler system, and they'll be able to do the work they estimate in 1 to 2 days. The library is scheduled, along with other city offices, to be closed on Tuesday, November 11th for Veterans Day. So I will schedule the work to be done on that day. We'll already be closed. Gallagher said that they could do the work in 1 to 2 days while we're open, but I'd rather that we have the building closed. That way they can just work in peace without the public zipping around them. We'll focus on the higher traffic areas that first day. If it does need to carry over into a second day, they can work in lower traffic areas.
Good. Well, thank you. I want to commend you and the staff for the thoughtfulness with which you've prepared that timing. It certainly makes sense to leverage the natural closer that's that's lined up with the library, and then I like the thoughtfulness of covering the high traffic areas first, just in case it does carry into the second day. We'd minimize the potential for any incidents with ladders or you know, sprinkler heads going awry, that kind of thing. So
Good. Thank you.
thank you.
Very good. Any additional discussion on this? Seeing none, then Ms. Boucher, could you please call the roll on M5314?
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Yes.
As we are approaching the 10 o'clock hour, which should be the time where we shut things down, I am somewhat reluctantly asking that we suspend the rules so that we can continue this meeting with new business past 10 a.m. And 10 p.m. Chase.
10 a.m. It's going to be a long meeting.
See, past 10 p.m. and as a result of what I just said, I'm asking for a friendly amendment that we commute our communications accordingly to the time.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 15?
Motion number M5414, matter of authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with eCivis, a grant management software application in amount not to exceed $2,875. A budget amendment is required.
Is there a motion to approve M5414?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Stedman.
Support.
Support by Councilmember Baker. Mr. Sessa.
You know, Council, I did provide you with some information earlier on regarding this company. I have met with several type of organizations or companies that do this type of thing, but in talking to my colleagues and in meeting with eCivis over the phone, I feel that this company can help us identify some potential grants that we may be able to apply for. One of the things that I like about this company is that we're able to take a look at grants, federal grants, grants that are available through foundations, all different types of grants that are other state grants that are specific to our state. You know, we don't have a staff person in our office that's all that they do, but I feel that we need to utilize our funds as best we can, and through grants, this may be one mechanism in which we can do so. Now, I've been able to negotiate, I think, a really good price with this company. I know originally they wanted a little over $5,000. I brought it down, which I thought was significant, to about $2,800, which we're asking for today. This is not a budgeted item. I will tell you that, again, this company, they had been working with me for quite a while. When they were able to give me a price that I thought was reasonable, something that I thought the city could invest in, I decided at that time to bring it for your consideration. I've talked to the staff about this. They also feel that this is something that they could utilize. We'll look at these will be grants not just for maybe perhaps our downtown development, but we could also potentially look at grants for, say, planning. We can also look at grants for public safety, maybe even roads, things of that nature. But again, here, this is another mechanism that we can use, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any discussion? Councilmember Blanchard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know who I am.
It's getting late.
Almost 10 a.m.
I just want to make a quick comment. I think that this is a very, very small amount of money that can bring us in a very, very large amount of money, or hopefully bring us in. And so I think it's a no-brainer.
Thank you.
Councilman Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you for bringing this to our attention and for your research and for helping to ensure that, that we get every penny possible to help us, because the penny saved here can be applied towards some of the projects that the grants would help enable. Grants are a great tool that municipalities have to bring revenue into the city to help match or even double or triple the kinds of funds that we can bring forth. And most of, many of the things that we do rely on funding from additional sources, and grants are a principal way to do that. There's an art and a science to filling these things out, and it all begins with figuring out what ones to go after. And so having access to this kind of information to give us the ability to see what grants are out there, and then to help position us to compete for those, because there's other communities that have access to the same information, and they're going to be competing for those same funds. That's going to be very helpful to us. In addition to this, I know we've leveraged folks like the Michigan Municipal League. They have extensive abilities to help us with grants, and so I see this as an and. So I will also support this. I think the ability to add this to our toolbox. The excellent work that Amy and others have done, our city planner, to pursue grants to help bring revenue into the city for these kinds of things is important, along with the league and this kind of tool. I think this is a great addition to the tools that we have to use. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ron. Just to let the residents know that this is a small amount of money to pay up front to hopefully generate some revenue for the city so that we can do more for our residents in all the different areas. So I think it's a good idea. We've got a one-year trial, and we'll see how it goes.
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's exactly right. 1 year can't, it's not a huge investment for 1 year.
Right.
And there's not a lot of money out there, of course. So it is pretty competitive when communities begin to seek those kinds of grants. So being positioned well and knowing the kind of inside knowledge is a big advantage.
Very big.
So it's, to my mind, a wise investment as well. Ms. Boucher, would you please call the roll on M5414?
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, please read number 16.
Motion number M5514, matter of casting Berkeley's official vote for trustee of the Michigan Municipal Workers' Compensation Fund and direct the city clerk to send in the marked ballot.
Is there a motion to approve M5514?
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Mayor Pro Tem Tarbrack with support by Councilmember Kadekel. Mr. Sessa.
Council, you are required, as a member of the Michigan Municipal Workers' Compensation Fund, to vote for these individuals. For your consideration, we have Christine Burns. She is the village manager for the village of Spring Lake. We have Frank Campbell. He's the mayor for the city of Hastings. And we have Elva Mills. She's the village president for the village of Lexington. And of course, there's a write-in candidate if anybody's interested. But these are the individuals that are requesting your vote. And based on your decision this evening, our city clerk will be directed to send that to the fund.
I think we're ready to vote on that.
We're good with that.
We're good with that. Ms.
I
Pauch,
was
you-
considering your name, Mr.
You
Mayor.
are. Ms. Pauch, do you please call the roll on M5514?
Kadeko,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read number 17?
Motion number M5614, matter of certifying the following delegates to the annual meeting of the Municipal Employees Retirement System, MERS, to be held September 24th to the 26th of 2014 at the Detroit Marriott Renaissance Center in Detroit, Michigan. Funds shall come from account 101-201-864-000 for the officer delegate and account 101-954-864-000 for the employee delegate.
Is there a motion to approve M5614?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve
Support.
by Councilmember Stedman, support by Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Sessa.
Council, this is a formal procedure that we're required to ask the city council to consider. I am recommending that our Director of Finance and also our Treasury, Mr. David Sabuda, be appointed as our officer delegate, and then my assistant, Darshell Strickland Love, as the employee delegate.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion, questions on that? Hearing none, Ms. Boucher, please call the roll on M5614.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, would you please read item number 18? We're making headway.
Motion number M5714, matter of appointing various reappointments to boards and commissions.
Is there a motion to approve M5714?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Councilmember Baker with support by Councilmember Cadecle. Mr. Sessa.
Council, under this item, you are being asked to consider reappointment of the following individuals. Mr. Mayor, how would you like for me to address this? Should I turn this over to you?
Let me suggest that I'll handle that.
Okay, very good.
The situation is the following names are to be reappointed. Mark Richardson, Environmental Advisory Committee, Parks and Rec, John Nicolai, Planning, Tim Murad, Tree Board, Sandra Sikora, Downtown Development Authority, Diana Farrington. These are the names that are before us. They're all to be reappointed, seeking reappointment. Is there any discussion about any of these? Hearing none, then Ms. Boucher, you please call the roll on M5714.
Turbrack,
Yes.
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now, Ms. Boucher, please read item number 19.
Resolution number R2714, matter of authorizing amendment of the 2013-2014 and 2014-2015 operating budget, those operating funds as presented.
Is it a motion to approve R2714?
Move to approve.
Moved to approve by Councilmember Cadecle,
Support.
support by Councilmember Blanchard. Mr. Sessa.
Council, as you know, we are required to amend our budget as necessary, and this is done in accordance with Public Act 2 of 1968 as amended. And to go over this list for you this evening is our Finance Director, Mr. David Sabuda. Mr. Sabuda?
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Before you this evening, you have 9 budget amendments, 7 for the 13-14 fiscal year, 2 for the 14-15 fiscal year. The resolution that's before you this evening will handle both fiscal years. It'll affect 6 operating funds. So in the 13-14 fiscal year, we're asking to reduce expenses by approximately $16,600, and we're also asking to reduce revenues by $71,000. That would be a net reduction of fund balance of $54,364. Also, for the other operating funds for 13-14, so in the recreation revolving fund and in the major and local street funds, you'll see $50,000 in new revenue, and you'll see $22,000 in new expense. For the 14-15 fiscal year, you'll see the 2 new increases in expenses, new money being spent, $3,700 at the library. We were reimbursed for the expense at the library, $3,700. Someone ran into the retaining wall at the facility, and we're repairing that now. And in the rec revolving fund, there's $6,000 an expense for a weed and feed program at various parks at various park facilities. With that, Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to entertain any questions that the council may have.
Any questions for our Finance Director? We seem to be just cleaning up the accounts, and
correct.
And it is an important to do, to keep everything aligned and funds coming from the right places and going to the right places. Thank you for your focus on that.
You're welcome.
If there are no questions, then for our Finance Director, Ms. Boucher, could you please read, call the roll on R2714?
Baker,
Yes.
Blanchard,
Yes.
Kadeco,
Yes.
Stedman,
Yes.
Turbrack,
Yes.
O'Dwyer.
Yes. And now we come to the communications portion of tonight's meeting, and I think Councilmember Blanchard is up first.
I basically have no comment, Your Honor, because I've been reading this stuff, the 155 pages we've got just on tonight's meeting, plus all the stuff from previous meetings, so time to think about it. Just like to thank everybody for coming, and
Well, thank you.
Aye.
Councilmember Stedman.
Okay, just one thing from the library. They have a program coming up on Monday, August 4th at 6:30 p.m. It's join automotive historian Michael W.R. Davis as he brings the Motor City's rich automotive past to life through a fascinating talk and presentation. He's authored several books, more than a dozen, covering Chrysler, Ford, Chevy, Mustang, GM, and more. And this will surely get you fired up for the Dream Cruise. So that was something that Matt Church wanted me to relay from to everyone. And just one thing about the Beautification Committee, who still have been very active. We, if anybody would like to join a committee, you notice that we just reappointed people to committees. Every July we do that, but anytime you can join a committee. So if you decide you would like to, I would suggest the Beautification Committee.
Thank you. Councilmember Baker.
Thank you, Your Honor. I was actually going to continue on that same theme. In the expediency of tonight's conduction of business, we went through the appointments very quickly, and because we have such confidence in the folks that are on these committees, right? And I wanted to just take a moment to thank them and for all those others that choose to help make the city what it is and what it will be. If it weren't for the hard work and dedication of the volunteers on all of our committees, including beautification and the fun ones, it would be the city wouldn't be half of what it is today if it wasn't for all their hard work. So I wanted to just pause for just a second and to thank each and every one of those volunteers for all that they do to help make our city great. It's terrific work. I did have just a couple other things. I will officially trim my speech in half tonight. I had a bunch of stuff, but some of it can certainly wait. But there's just one pressing thing I did want to cover. Before I do that, I did want to say Joyce Mayer once wrote, "Patience is not simply the ability to wait. It's how we behave while we're waiting." And again, that's Joyce Mayer who wrote, "Patience is not simply the ability to wait. It's how we behave while we're waiting." And I'm very pleased and thankful for those folks who were patient on several fronts. First, this entire journey for many of the items that we've had the pleasure to discuss tonight. This was just one stage of a journey to be continued. I don't think we actually closed anything out today, but rather we've helped advance us to the next stage of the conversation. So I'm appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of the candor and the care with which today's conversations happened and the way with which so many of you folks stayed with us here for the duration of the session. That means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to us that you have passion around these things. So thank you for that. The one item that I will talk about that does have some timing associated with it has to do with another way in which we could help advance the city. Our notion of the master plan has come up. It is just that. It is a plan. It is a guideline. It is a structure for us to consider and bring into the dialogue as we think about the kinds of endeavors that we actually want to undertake. One of the items in that master plan is the notion of catalytic projects, and one of those catalytic projects is Robina, the notion of a community centerpiece kind of thing. And so I'd like to thank all the folks that have participated. We have another series of excellent volunteers from many of our committees and residents and business owners that have gotten together over the last several months to share ideas about if and how we might choose to re-energize and activate that space on Robina just north of 12 Mile. Those of you familiar with like the Robina Rhapsody, that happens there. A lot of the great activities that happen in the course of the Art Bash and the Dream Cruise and those kinds of things take place in that wonderful opportunity right there. Tuesday, July 29th. Tuesday the 29th at 6:30 will be the next conversation around that potential project. It'll be in the second floor of the Public Safety Building, so just across the street from where we are this evening. And the topic is around that part of our downtown and how we might choose to move forward with that. What we'll see is results from citizens' involvement. We've had little surveys, and we talked with the public during the Art Bash and have a lot of great information to share and some potential work for us down the road. Now, we can't instantly just snap our fingers and make it happen, but it's that next step of the journey, right? It's that patience to see how and in what ways can we together continue to make Berkeley fantastic. You know, I love this place. Obviously, you guys love this place, or else we wouldn't be here talking with such passion around things that make a difference to us. And I hope you'll help bring that passion to another item here with this opportunity to talk about Robina. I yield the rest of my time to
My colleagues
you.
to my left. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Tebright.
Just a couple quick items. One, I too want to thank the residents and Mr. Cataldo and everybody else that again has been involved in this process. That's just one thing that we've dealt with today, but that was certainly very time consuming. We all wanted to make sure that we had the facts and we studied and we were able to make an informed decision. It's hard to believe that it's already July 21st. We are officially halfway through Summerfest. We've already had the Little Tykes Tot Lot Night, the Senior Activities Day, and just recently, last Saturday, the Community Picnic. Coming up, we still have the JC Jamboree, which is Thursday, July 31st from 6 to 8 p.m., Family Movie Night, August 23rd, and Ice Cream Social, Tuesday, August 26th from 6:30 to 8:30. So we still have those events coming up. I want to thank the Parks and Rec, everybody that works in the Park and Rec Department, and the volunteers who have been helping to put all of these events on, the Friends of the Parks and Rec as well. It's been a very busy summer, but the residents have certainly enjoyed them. Also, those events are all free. Josephine, free. Won't cost you a dime, not even a penny. Free. I now yield the remainder of my time to the gentleman from Oakshire.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. I too want to thank everyone that came here tonight. Josephine Brewer is usually our Lone Ranger here, and I think she enjoyed the company, so, we do this the first and third Monday of every month, and in the summer's the third Monday. So you're all welcome to join us. I want to welcome the 3 new officers today, and the mayor alluded earlier that we are blessed, not his words, but we are blessed to have the great public safety department we do. And an example of this is some of the events that happened over the last couple of weeks. Many of you heard there was a small fire at Crispelli's, and I spoke to the owners, and they can't thank Officer Cassie Brokaw enough for her awareness. She was by 12 Mile and Woodward, and she happened to smell something. Rather than ignore it, she investigated it, and thus saw the flames happening. And I want to thank her for her quickness, and thank the Public Safety Department for the work they did. Also, a quick fire at the Oddfellows last week. They put that out. I think cleanup was longer than the actual fire. Volunteers, you heard a couple of my colleagues mention on the Zoning Board of Appeals. We lost another member, unfortunately, because they are moving out of the city. Zach Massad, who has served for the last 3-4 years on the Zoning Board of Appeals. And his reasoning was, well, we wanted to buy a house in Berkeley, but we couldn't afford it. And my words to him were, the good news is you couldn't afford it. The bad news is you couldn't afford it. And it just shows what a great community and a vibrant community we have. I want to welcome Charlie and Andrea McPhail to, they own a new place called Just a Pinch, and they have all kinds of spices and everything. It's on Robina, just north of 12 Mile, around the corner from Cam's, and you should go in there. It's a cute little store. I enjoyed the senior activity and the community picnic, and I want to thank Mayor Pro Tem for being brave enough to go in that cold dunk tank and watching his little, how old is she, 5?
Should be 5 in August.
Yeah, she'll be 5 next week. Watching her hit the button and see her dad go in that water was priceless. That's about it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. DeSessa.
I'll try to be brief, Your Honor. I too want to thank all our volunteers. I'll try. It's just that there's some people that I really, really have to recognize. Although we have a lot of volunteers, there are a couple that, they kind of go under the radar, and you don't hear about them. I was at a DDA meeting not too long ago, and after the DDA meeting, I quickly went over to the Parks Department because they were having their senior festivities. And of course, it's early in the morning. It's little after 8 o'clock or maybe even earlier than that. And who do I bump into there but Betty and Lyle Smith. And what are they doing? They are making blueberry pancakes for our seniors. And, you know, people wonder, how does this happen? It happens because of individuals like them. I mean, I know y'all are here, and we're so glad you're here, but there are some incredible people in our city that they do this just because. And Betty, she's a member of some of other organizations in our city, but her and her husband at 8:30 in the morning on a Wednesday made me some blueberry pancakes before I left for my next meeting. So I want to thank them. And then other two individuals that are in our city, and they've done this by themselves, and they're slowly but surely turning our beautification committee around. And that's Dan and Anila, and I can't pronounce their last name, Mihaescu. And you can see some of their work in two places. One, during our on Coolidge, on that hard road that we're all talking about. You see the beautiful plants that are there and are welcome to Berkley sign. That's them. And then more recently, the beautification efforts that they did along Woodward on the bus stop, and they did that themselves. And they've been working very hard to make those improvements. So now when I drive to our city, see that it's so nice to see those beautiful plants starting to bloom. And again, these individuals just took it upon themselves to do that. So thank you.
And painting fire hydrants.
And yes, and they paint fire hydrants, yes. So anybody out there, again, please join our beautification committee. They do a tremendous job. I know it's a lot of work, but it's very, very rewarding. And you get to work with great people. Just moving on to another item, I too am so glad to see our new officers. As I see our officers, they're so young. And and I just have to smile because I know how lucky we are to have them. Our officers, for those of you who don't know this, they are what they call public safety officers. So they are certified to be both policemen and firemen. And these young men can do both. And we are so fortunate to have been able to have these three people join our staff. So I'm very excited to have them join our team, as they say. Another new member to our team, and she's here for the first time. She's our new deputy city clerk, Lisa, and I hope I don't massacre your name too, Vecchio.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good, Lisa Vecchio. And Lisa is our new deputy city clerk. I know that she, together with both our city clerk, Annette Boucher, and our finance director, David Sabuda, we interviewed numerous individuals for this position, and she came up on top. And she's very new to this profession, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about her background, but she has her degree, master's degree or bachelor's degree in public administration. Is that correct? Poli-sci. There we go. But anyway, she wants to be a city manager someday, and obviously, who knows? She's going to be a city clerk, and you never know. There are city clerks that have been city managers as well. And so I welcome her to our team. In the short time that she's been here, she's already gone into training. She's going to be working very closely with our city clerk. Elections is just right around the corner, as you all know. So, but she's ready, and Annette and her, we're so grateful for them doing a great job. So welcome, Lisa, and thank you. I hope this wasn't too bad for you, but you're here for a reason. So thank you very much. And then lastly, council, one of the things that I do, and I have to ask you up front in front of the public, is to ask you to conduct my personnel evaluation. You conduct this once a year, and this fiscal year is up. And so I'd like for you to sit down and maybe through the organization of our mayor, conduct it in August sometime. So you'll be getting some information from our mayor and from myself as well to conduct an annual evaluation of the city manager. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Very good. Thank you. Mr. Sabuda.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing this evening.
Thank you. Mr. Attorney.
Your Honor, nothing tonight. Thank you.
Very good and very wise. It's like at the end of class, and you ask, "Are there any questions?" Would be a very brave student would ask a question at this hour of the night. So on that note, I will just simply say thank you to everybody, to those who participated tonight, and to those who watched the broadcast of the program, of the council meeting. I think it is informative in how community decisions can be made civilly and despite the passions that were involved, respectfully. And so we thank everybody concerned. Is it a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn by
Support.
Councilmember Cadeckel, support by Councilmember Stedman. Ms. Boucher, please call the roll. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Yes, aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carried. July 21st meeting is adjourned.
Good work.
There we go.
One around the table.